Happy Friday. We are going to be chilling out today. So I just have a bunch of stuff tabbed up here. We could go in any direction if someone comes in here and, pastes something or wants to talk about something. But for now, let's just kind of rip through videos that might be interesting, might be related to what we've been talking about on stream, which has been basically the foundations of consciousness through a contemporary neuroscientific lens. This, I don't know what this is gonna, the title is apt. This is what we talk about on our in our document, and both on the stream, or both in the document on stream. But let's see if this is actually discussing what we talk about. I'm not sure.
Good morning, John. So I've been thinking a lot about how we never know what anything
Big fan of Hank, by the way.
means. Like, one of the big things about humans is that we can imagine the future. And how do we do that? We tell stories, and those stories extend from the past into the future, and for a certain amount of time and certain circumstances, like, we're pretty good at that. But once that story involves, like, a lot of people and a lot of time, we're never correct. Like, if 30 years ago you tried to tell a story that started, America Online is now rolling out to millions of American homes per month. You would not extend it to what has actually happened. Nobody would have called this. I recently learned a really amazing version of this. So we recently released the first episode of a new show from Complexly. It's called Endlings. It's on the Bizarre Beasts channel. It's a series about the last surviving member of a species before it goes extinct. And over the course of the series, the goal is that you learn a lot about ecology and biology and humans and our relationship with our world. It's not just sort of like one-off stories. It's telling like a whole big thing. The first video centers around Martha, the final passenger pigeon. The video is very good. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but one thing I found out from it was that the passenger pigeons could not have gone extinct without the telegraph. And that seems wrong. So the way passenger pigeons moved around, there were just tons of them, so many, but they didn't have like set places where they would go.
It's like the whole horse argument, except it actually happened. There wasn't a new use for horses.
They would roost fairly at random based on what trees were doing, and people never knew what the trees were doing, at least not as well as the pigeons did. And when that happened, the locals would get the opportunity to hunt the birds, and they would hunt some of the birds, but there weren't so many people around that they would hunt all of the birds. But then quite quickly, the telegraph spread across the eastern US, and people could suddenly send out a message that said, hey, the birds are in this specific place, and people would travel to those birds and they would hunt en masse. Instead of just some folks, it was as many people as could get there. And that, combined with advances in canning and rail travel, which allowed the birds to reach more distant markets.
Oh, wow. Okay,
that's
never
what
mind.
actually did the passenger pigeon. My point is,
I was thinking that this passenger pigeon was a means for communication, and the technology got rid of it. But it's literally, hey, go hunt these things, and then they were able to propagate that information.
nobody involved in the creation of the telegraph had the thought, I wonder what this is going to do to the passenger pigeons. And if they had that thought, they would not have then had the thought, boy, I bet it's going to extinct them. I know that the people inventing the telegraph and people finding out about the telegraph, they had all kinds of thoughts about how it was going to change the world. And some of those ideas were right and some were wrong, but they were all very short term. And none of the thoughts had anything to do with birds. These weren't ideas that were correct or incorrect. They were ideas that were not being had. Like, you can tell me a story about how AI is going to extend human life infinitely or how it's going to cause human extinction, but the only thoughts that anyone is having about AI right now that matter are the ones that are like from now until 5 years from now. Those ones are somewhat credible. It's going to be economically weird. This is probably a bubble. It's going to be bad for apprenticeship for people who are just coming out of school who would otherwise be getting entry-level jobs that are now being done by computers. And whether or not the computers are good at that, you could trust companies are going to try them out. They're going to try to save that money, but that's the very near term. I think the most impactful thing about AI will be things that we have no idea of right now. I've got my bias, you've got yours. We're all looking at the past and extending the story into the future. But beyond the next 5 years, I think it's all up in the air.
My whole shtick is that I think like the biggest thing that AI is going to do to us in the near term is somewhat of an identity crisis. The fact that it's going to be so easy to make videos of other people. It's going to be so easy to have writing in the spirit of other people, to literally have personality in the spirit of another person if you were to give it enough footage. Like, even just from my streams, you could probably get an AI system to basically be me, and that's kind of a big deal because now who do you trust? So I think there is a huge I think that might be the largest thing that's coming, even bigger than just jobs getting lost, which I think is also a huge deal.
Beyond 10, I think the dominant forces will be things that no one has even thought of yet. The only thing I can tell you is that, like the telegraph, it will be a very big deal, and the impacts will be much weirder than we think. I am going to tell you what my bias tells me, though, even though I know it's my bias. I think we need to worry about whether it will continue us down the path of losing trust in each other and faith in humanity, which the current AI recommendation algorithms of YouTube and TikTok and Threads and Twitter all are already doing a fantastic job of, even without them having any interest in doing that. It's not like they want that. We told them to keep people on websites, and they made us hate each other more. That is a weird outcome. An outcome that you might expect from a sentient AI who wants to take over the world, but that's not why this happened. We just told them to recommend content that people would be more likely to want to watch, and the result was a fraying of the fabric of society. That's a weird outcome. But that, of course, is me focusing on the negative, which is one of the biases all people have. The telegraph helped end the passenger pigeon, but it also awakened a global awareness. It extended our empathy, our circle of care. It also necessitated the creation of the first digital encoding system, which, would become important later on. In many ways, the telegraph changed what it meant to be human and may have helped to create the...
Good morning, good morning. We're doing our Friday fun day. Just watching anything and anything, anything and everything that would be tangentially related to what we usually do. I'm hanking my green, absolutely. I love to hank my green. I'm a big fan of hanking green. And so far, this has been a pretty excellent video. But it's, it's gotten somewhat dark as we're now talking about the potential ramifications of AI, but it's been pretty excellent.
The very idea of humanity, which has been a pretty important idea. My point is, the future doesn't grow out of our intentions. It doesn't grow out of our fears or our hopes or even our stories, though those things all have important influences. The future just grows. It grows in ways that we never expect. They thought they knew what they were doing when they made the telegraph. They thought they knew what problem they were solving, and they solved that problem, but they had no idea of the problems that would be created by their solution. They had no idea of the philosophies that would be created by their solution. We never know what anything means. We just have to ride our wet, frail living chemistry into wherever it leads us. And since I cannot know where I am going, I have no choice but to be a little excited to see where we end up. John, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Nice.
Martha.
Yeah, I was wondering if this title would lead to a more philosophically deep discussion, but it was it was a pretty high level discussion. All right, so let's what do we want to do here? Should we do the think more rationally with Bayes' rule? This was a suggestion from yesterday.
The late, great astronomer and science popularizer Carl Sagan had a famous saying, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence." In this, he was echoing an argument by David Hume. Hume said, well, what's more likely, that the laws of the universe as we've always experienced them are wrong, or that some guy misremembered something? Now, these are all versions of a kind of reasoning that is called Bayesian, after the Reverend Thomas Bayes. It just means after you've seen all of the evidence, how much should you believe something? And it assumes that you don't just believe something or disbelieve it, you assign a degree of belief. We all want that. We don't want to be black and white, dichotomous absolutists. We want to calibrate our degree of belief to the strength of the evidence. Bayes' theorem is how you ought to do that.
So is this just going to...
Bayes' theorem...
So this is just going to talk about Bayes' rule in relation to thinking. I'm pretty sure that people do actually consider the brain as a Bayesian computation mechanism. I don't know, that's probably not the wording they use, but I wonder if this is more the rational tool we can leverage, which I think that's in line with what the conversation Steven Pinker's having. He's talking about rational tools, or tools that allow you to be more rational. But I was kind of hoping that we would discuss maybe the view of the cognitive framework of Bayesian thinking or thought.
At first glance, looks kind of scary because it's got all of these letters and symbols, but more important, conceptually, it's simple. And at some level, I think we all know it. Posterior probability, that is, credence in an idea after looking at the evidence, can be estimated by the prior, that is, how much credence did the idea have even before you looked at that evidence. The prior should be based on everything that we know so far. on data gathered in the past, our best established theories, anything that's relevant to how much you should believe something before you look at the new evidence. Second term is sometimes called the likelihood, and that refers to if the hypothesis is true, how likely is it that you will see the evidence that you are now seeing? You just divide that product, the prior, the likelihood, by the commonness of the data, probability of the data, which is how often do you expect to see that evidence across the board, whether the idea you're testing is true or false. If something is very common, so for example, lots of things that give people, headaches and back pain, you don't diagnose some exotic disease whose symptoms happen to be back pain and headaches just because so many different things can give you headaches and back pain. There's a cliche in medical education. If you hear hoofbeats outside the window, don't conclude that it's a zebra. It's much more likely to be a horse. And that's another way of getting people to take into account Bayesian priors. There are many realms in life in which, if all we cared about was to be optimal statisticians, we should apply Bayes' theorem, just plug the numbers in. But there are things in life other than making the best possible statistical prediction. And sometimes we legitimately say, sorry, you can't look at the Bayes rate. Rates of criminal violence or rates of success in school. It's true, you may not have the same statistical predictive power, but predictive power isn't the only thing in life. You may also want fairness. You may want to not perpetuate a vicious circle where some kinds of people through disadvantage might succeed less often, but then if everyone assumes they'll succeed less often, they'll succeed even less often. It could also go too far, just by saying, well, only 10% of mechanical engineers are women, so there must be a lot of sexism in mechanical engineering programs that cause women to fail. And you might say, well, wait a sec, what is the base rate of women who want to be mechanical engineers in the first place? There, if you're accusing lots of people of sexism without looking at the base rate, you might be making a lot of false accusations. I think we've got to think very carefully about the realms in which morally we want not to be Bayesians, and the realms in which we do want to be Bayesian, such as journalism and social science, where we just want to understand the world. It's one of the most touchy and difficult and politically sensitive hot buttons that are out there, and that's a dilemma that faces us with all taboos, including forbidden base rates. Still, we can't evade the responsibility of deciding when are base rates permissible, when are they forbidden. What Bayes' theorem just says is that your degree of belief in a hypothesis should be determined by how likely the hypothesis is beforehand, before you even look at the evidence. If the hypothesis is true, what are the odds that you would see the evidence that you are seeing? Scaled by how common is that evidence across the board, whether the hypothesis is true or false. If you could follow what I just said, you understand Bayes' theorem.
Get smarter, faster.
Nice. All right. Meditation's impact on the brain. Oh, yeah.
Science has contributed to our understanding of the effects of meditation on the brain and body.
The research that we've done on meditation in the brain has focused on two major domains that meditation actually affects. One is attention, and the other is emotion. And what we have discovered is that the circuits in the brain that are important for regulating both attention and emotion can be transformed by meditation. The 30,000-foot goal is to use the scientific research to understand the nature of suffering and how it can best be alleviated. And Mingyur Rinpoche was one of our first long-term practitioners.
Well, this will be strapped onto the arm, and we'll get your ratings of how...
That's normal, without meditation?
Yes. Yes, without meditation.
Usually when you do this kind of research with either brain electrical measurements or MRI, it takes a lot of what we call post-processing to look at the data. And what post-processing means is simply lots of computer algorithms churning at the data after the data is collected. And it often takes many, many days of computer processing to extract these really weak signals in a lot of noise. It's finding a needle in a haystack. With Mingyur Rinpoche, we didn't need any fancy post-processing. We actually were able to see a signal with our naked eye. Of course, the first thing we thought is that there's artifact and there's something wrong because this just is not something that we typically would see. And so then we had to go through the entire recording system and take everything apart and put it back together before we convinced ourselves that this is actually real. Then when we discovered that it was real, it was really quite amazing because nobody had ever seen these kinds of signals before for this length of time.
Energy Downturn, I think it is.
What we're looking at are gamma oscillations in the brain.
He did a 4-year retreat at 7 years old. Oh my
and
gosh.
they're seen in any ordinary person, but they're seen for very, very short periods of time, typically less than 1 second. They also don't have such large amplitude. And when Mingyur Rinpoche was meditating, these signals were large, they were highly synchronized, and they lasted for many, many minutes. They lasted for the entire time that the meditation session was in progress. And that's what made them very visible. So that was really a very important moment, because we knew that from a scientific perspective, there was a there there. We can see that a person who meditates for even just 2 weeks, 30 minutes a day, shows a different pattern of brain activity than when they started 2 weeks before. And that is really important, because it suggests that the brain really is plastic, that we really can make these changes, and that it actually doesn't take that much. A total of 7 hours of practice was sufficient to change the brain in very objective, measurable ways. Well-being and warm-heartedness can be cultivated. We can think of them almost as skills, which can be enhanced through certain kinds of practice.
Oh, whoops.
Science has contributed
Who
to
is
our
the
understanding.
who's the scientist here? Did it show his oh, it did. Richard Davidson. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure 5 years ago it was pretty common to, like, it was a pretty common thought, you know, the understanding of neuroplasticity. So like these findings, you know, obviously it suggests the neuroplasticity aspect of this. I think that's, we know that. The interesting thing, though, is that meditation leads to these neuroplastic changes. That's really interesting, which is also cool. But the really cool stuff comes when you actually figure out, okay, these new patterns of activity, what do they correlate with? Like, do they correlate with a you know, if it's like the default mode network being, you know, being desynchronized, or a reduction of activity, like what do we know that to actually affect on things? And as I mentioned in the video I actually just filmed this morning, that can lead to a flow of emotions that we don't usually get. Whereas like the default mode network is usually like a filter in some sense of a lot of signals, and if the default mode network is not, you know, if this is a dam, we could think it's breaking the dam, and now a lot of these emotions can flow. But it's not necessarily emotions that are going crazy, because obviously we can intuit that meditation isn't that type of experience, but it's one where you have this profound experience that feels enlightened. So does this look interesting? Let's see. It's quite long. Exploring Jewish Neapolitanism, the life and philosophy of Solomon ibn Gabirol, philosopher, educator, and public scholar whose work explores the intersections of mysticism and philosophy across traditions. So that, I mean, like, you know, this is interesting, but I don't think it pertains really to what we need to do in the document. We really don't have to go into any specific religions unless we're like deriving some tenet that only that religion carries. So like perhaps we could find that, but you know, I would probably learn about one of these through like a language model, and then we could do a deep dive. So I don't know if this would be the most productive thing to watch right now. So yeah, very cool. What is this? Dr. K's approach to meditation. Okay. When we do our meditation thing, we can go deep into this. We could do that later. We could do that now. We could also do this now. So I'm going to do the Alan Watts into the Noam Chomsky.
When we use the word hallucination, we usually mean the perception of something that others cannot see or hear. You see a shape, a color, or a figure standing in the room, and to you it is as undeniable as the chair beneath you. Yet, if no one else can confirm it, we dismiss it as not real. And so,
Is this Alan Watts himself?
What do we actually mean by real? If reality is only what can be shared by consensus, then dreams, private thoughts, and even
1973,
pain would
wow.
not qualify. After all, no one can directly verify the headache you feel or the image that arises in your mind's eye. And yet, these experiences undeniably exist for you. So the very idea of hallucination forces us into a corner. Is it a falsehood, a trick, an error of the senses, or is it simply a different class of event in consciousness, real in its happening, even if not publicly accessible? No scientific authority has resolved this question with certainty, because at its root it is a question not of chemistry, but of the nature of experience itself.
Let's go back here.
And even pain would not qualify. After all, no one can directly verify the headache you feel or the image that arises in your mind's eye. And yet, these experiences undeniably exist for you. So the very idea of hallucination forces us into a corner. Is it a falsehood, a trick, an error of the senses? Or
So
is it
yeah,
simply a different...
this is slightly antiquated because as you know, as I've been doing with this whole panpsychism exploration, we can actually find concrete activity that correlates. Oh, so this is actually pretty interesting. I found this since we talked about this stuff, and I didn't add it into the script, but I added it into the bibliography. But there are some interesting studies. So first is like a pretty influential study that happened in 2016. This study found that the human brain, particularly the I don't even know how to pronounce this thing, entorhinal, pronounce
Entorhinal.
That the brain, particularly the entorhinal cortex, uses a grid-like neural code to represent abstract conceptual relationships, similar to how it maps physical space, by having participants imagine transitions between birds that varied along two feature dimensions, neck and leg length. They showed that brain activity patterns reflected a six-fold hexagonal symmetry characteristic of grid cells, suggesting that spatial coding principles also organize conceptual thought. So this is like the first view of our conceptual thoughts actually having some specific coding in the brain. Now, since then, 2023, now this is also to be clear, this work is currently a preprint and has not yet undergone the formal peer review process. It should be viewed as preliminary but highly relevant research. I did ask the LLM though if it expected this to be legit based on the methodology, and it said that it did look pretty promising. The study investigates how the human brain tracks the evolution of social relationships. The proposed novel and significant finding is that the hippocampus encodes the history of a social interaction as a dynamic, nonlinear neural trajectory through an abstract conceptual space defined by affiliation and power. Yeah, maybe this isn't the best wording, defined by affiliate, but it was like these were categories that arose. Like they pretty much had the participants look at different scenarios, one characterizing affiliation, which was specifically when I think it was like a dynamic where the person who the character involved in the story had power over the person, the participant, whereas the power one, it was they had power over the character. Unlike prior work that showed the brain maps static conceptual spaces, the authors looked for and found evidence that the brain is actively tracking the sequence of events, the changing narrative arc that defines the current state of a relationship. So, you know what? Maybe I just cut this one. I don't know. But the way that I had understood it was that you can literally see specific patterns in the brain arising in relation to different scenarios that have similar abstract conceptual characteristics. So this would be, while you're thinking about this thing or while you're noticing this thing, we can see now that the basis of a schema of a conceptual experience happening in real time via specific patterns at specific areas of the brain, which is kind of insane. So it really it really strengthens this argument that our experience of meaning itself is afforded to us by neural activity. What's good, Onion Helmet? What is poppin'? We're just chilling. I might skip this one now because he's already mentioned something that I think is antiquated. So I'm worried that it's going to put us down a road where we don't need to go down. Well, yo, Samurai Destroyer, what's good? Welcome back. What do you actually, now that Onion Helmet, now that you're here, we can watch this Heidegger meme. And I thought, because we also had this in my watch later, that we perhaps as penance for watching a Heidegger meme, we have to actually watch like a serious Heidegger video. But if this is too in the weeds, I mean, he's talking about Dasein here. If this isn't like accessible at all, then I'll just skip ahead. I don't know why we would have to, bang our brains into something. How's it going? It's going pretty well. It's this morning I filmed the Alex O'Connor video and I started editing it, but we still have a good amount to edit. I'm hoping that it's about an hour maybe. That's my goal. But I still need to find a bunch of B-roll, and I have to edit in the original video. All right, what's going on here?
Martin Heidegger hit so many eggs that the Nazis changed his name from Heidegger to Heidegger. He would hide eggs in the Nazi parliament. Many Nazis would be like, bro, what the fuck? Where are all these eggs coming from?
What is,
and there
what is
would
this?
be Martin just chilling and smoking, laughing at the
This is what I was talking about. Just getting sunglasses over the philosopher.
pure wind that was unfolding unbeknownst to the Nazi parliament members. He even hid an egg in Hitler's bunker, and Hitler
So this is all just from
like,
4chan?
Oh, you're savage. I know it was you. And Heidegger just chilled and lit up a cigar and
Now,
said,
what's going on
"Yeah,
with this channel?
Next day, his office
Are these all
placard
memes?
was changed to Heidegger. History of Phil. Just another win.
Okay. Jeez.
Lot of
All right, here we go.
Heidegger's most important concepts is the concept of Dasein. This is a word which, similar to Hegel's Geist, has a lot of history behind it in terms of the way it has been understood by different thinkers and the way in which it's treated in things like transcendence.
So I don't know if this is going to be particularly boring or not, but just to really ground this, when we're talking about Dasein, like the ways you could think about it is, first we're thinking about the type of thing that can have an experience about itself. So like the thing that can consider like what they are. So it's, a type of consciousness that is self-conscious and can actually consider its own self-consciousness as a topic. So that's what this category of Dasein is. So it's not necessarily a human, but it's pretty much only a human. And yeah, like it's also when Heidegger talks about being and Dasein, he's very much talking about the phenomenology, how it feels of consciousness. Can it be true? So let's just see if where he goes with this.
And commentaries. And Dasein is a very important concept for understanding Heidegger. And if you've read Hegel, especially like the Phenomenology of Spirit, Dasein has some implications which feel very similar to the Hegelian
the dead airs in
project
between.
as a whole. Namely, there's this...
But this is kind of impressive. He's doing it all in one go.
Sort of reflexiveness of human being that Heidegger is basically trying to talk about. This is my second video in my Heidegger concepts video. I'm making my way through Being in Time and giving an expose of certain concepts that might prompt some thought in you, and also is kind of a good way to get short little snippets of what these concepts are. But Dasein is peculiar because
oh man, this guy's still
it's
going.
not a subject.
He's
like
popping
any
off.
other subject. You know, you can talk about Dasein is this.
Oh my
Dasein
gosh,
is
he's
that,
really popping off.
But it's not necessarily a singular. Dasein can be a plural, but we can kind of get some hints.
All
from the
kinds of
text
stuff
as to what Dasein really is. This is from page 26 of the McCoy Robinson translation. If the question about being is to be explicitly formulated and carried through in such a manner as to be completely transparent to itself, then any treatment of it in line with the elucidations we have given requires us to explain how being is to be looked at, how its meaning is to be understood and conceptually grasped. It requires us to prepare the way for choosing the right entity for our example, and to work out the genuine way of access to it. So he's trying to find a good way in to talk about being and what it is. If you watched my last Heidegger concept.
All right, I don't think we're gonna go too much farther, but this is pretty impressive that he's just pretty much like he's just a student. He's learning stuff, and he's given like a pretty lengthy explanation without any cuts. Sit down, bro. But I think I know this guy. He's the philosophy student. Okay, I have a suggestion. Let it rip. Yeah, this is pretty cool. What was his most popular? Why All Knowledge is Political. Oh my gosh. Foucault and Joyce. How to Annotate Hard Books. Yeah, I mean, this guy's in the weeds. Like, this is some serious philosophy stuff. I don't know if this is like the type of person we would want to, or not want to, but I would want to, but the person that we should like look out to collab with, given that I think he's really interested in like the text, you know, like the actual philosophy stuff. What is the concept of episteme in Michael Foucault, and how is it related to? What do we got? Okay, the concept of episteme in Michael Foucault's philosophy is one of the most distinctive features of his archaeological method, especially as developed in The Order of Things. Oh, is that why? Oh my gosh. It's going full circle. Is this why Damasio named his book The Strange Order of Things? And the Archaeology of Knowledge. For Foucault, an episteme is not simply a worldview or paradigm, but a historical a priori, the underlying set of rules, relations, and structures that determine what counts as knowledge, truth, or discourse in a given historical period. So this is, it's only related to Heidegger when he talks about inauthentic being, being with others, like how when we see the world, we like potential collapses into these pre-understood concepts that you know take the form of language, which is obviously cultural. It's less about history though. It's more about it's not like a historical a priori. It's more of like a existential a priori. That's the whole idea of time for Heidegger. Like it's temporal and it's got this like the past tense of being itself is one in which when I see this as a pen, it's as if this has been a pen. Like this was a pen, like this is a pen right now, but like every time I get this idea that this is a pen, it's already passed, or like it's already past the time in which this was a pen, right? I know that sounds very confusing, but it becomes more clear when you start seeing like what his future looks like, which is something like predictive processing, how we're always oriented towards considering the potential of what things are. And so our brain is always ahead of what we already think in the moment. And that could just be described by the fact that our brain is constantly constantly going. You know, we're always on to the next thing. We're curious in that sense. That's another word that Heidegger leverages for our inauthentic mode of being. Okay, the Renaissance episteme structured by resemblance and analogy. So this is different, right? This is distinct epistemes. Like a person living in each of these epochs, let's just say, or epistemes, they're gonna see things in certain ways that are different. But you know, they're also like two people within each of these are gonna see things in different ways. So this is more of like a higher order interpretation of history, and you know, it's a retrospective view of how things progressed. But relation to Heidegger's philosophy is deeply influenced by Heidegger's ontological critique of metaphysics, though Foucault transforms Heidegger's ideas into a historical and structural framework. Heidegger analyzes the history of being, the ways in which being reveals or conceals itself throughout Western metaphysics. Oh, I guess I did forget that he does have this part where he's just kind of going through a history of this concept. Each epoch of thought for Heidegger involves a particular epoch of being, a disclosure of what it means for things to be, which grounds metaphysics and knowledge. For example, in the modern age, being is revealed as objectivity, things as objects of representation for a knowing subject. Foucault's adaptation. So this is a very small thing to jump off from, which is kind of interesting. Foucault secularizes and historicizes Heidegger's insight. Instead of a metaphysical history of being, Foucault proposes a history of knowledge that examines the empirical conditions under which discourse arise. So you could jump off from Hegel to do this. I don't know why he needed to jump off from Heidegger to do this. I feel like Hegel does this much more, so. But yeah, not too much similarity. Like I don't think these two ideas, even though one was influenced by the other, I don't think they should be like discussed in the same category or topic. All right, what do we got going on here? Let's get Noam Chomsky into here.
The field of linguistics, the way Dr. Chomsky has. A few decades ago, Dr. Chomsky's work in universal grammar, knowledge of language,
Have you discovered Foucault's philosophy before? Have I discovered it? I mean, perhaps I imagine we talked about it on this channel. What type of philosophical topics / issues is Foucault most interested in? Revolve around the relationship between power, knowledge, and subjectivity. That is, how human beings are shaped by the systems and discourses that claim to know and govern them. Power and its mechanisms. Most famous contribution is his reconceptualization of power. He rejects the idea that power is simply held by certain individuals or institutions. Instead, he sees power as diffuse, relational, and productive, something that circulates throughout society, embedded in everyday practices and knowledge systems. That's interesting. So, I mean, I've talked about power on, I think maybe a couple days ago, and I would, if I were to take the idea of power seriously, I would ground it in, I guess, yeah, maybe he didn't have the science to really ground it in science, but you could ground it in social dynamics, perhaps before you could ground it in the science, and it would be embedded in like everyday social encounters, regardless of what you're doing. There's always power involved in some sense in this interpretation. Have you heard? I've definitely heard of his, like, the name, but I don't know. And I've heard probably people be upset about, I don't know, his contributions, or is this postmodern? Is this like a I'm not sure. Foucault was deeply concerned with how knowledge is formed and legitimized. He studied how disciplines like psychiatry, medicine, and criminology claim to know truth about people, and in doing so produce norms that shape behavior. Very cool. That's in line with how we consider knowledge through a norm-based process. Foucault turned to how human beings come to understand and govern themselves, how subjects are formed through relations of power and knowledge. He examined sexuality, ethics, and self-care as examples of technologies of the self. Interesting. Core concepts, subjectivation. All right. Critique of modern institutions. He showed how these institutions normalize individuals through surveillance, categorization, and correction. Historical method, archaeology, and genealogy. Investigates how systems of knowledge emerge. Genealogy traces how power and knowledge intertwine in shaping moral and social values. Yeah, I mean, all these are interesting pursuits. I guess the question is, what did he end up implying? And yeah, I would always be careful to see whether or not they imply too much or just the right amount.
This thing looks kind of like a
I don't think I've ever seen Chomsky speak.
presidential press conference or something like that. Hope you're not intimidated. The contemporary study of language, which was just described, is from some points of view a very ancient study. In fact, its roots lie in classical India and Greece 2,500 years ago. It's maybe the first branch of
I figured it out. What have you figured out? You figured it all out? Like, have you figured this out?
Human inquiry, maybe along with astronomy, and had many great achievements along the way. From another point of view, it's a rather young field. The major research enterprises that preoccupy people today were formulated in something like their contemporary form about 40 years ago, when lots of traditional ideas and insights and concerns were rediscovered. Rediscovered, incidentally, in total ignorance of the tradition, which had been completely forgotten, and if even mentioned, was mostly derided or dismissed with contempt. I remember that very well from my own student days at the University of Pennsylvania and at Harvard.
You know, when we were talking about the usefulness of religion, yes. Yeah, we've got this very interesting dilemma where we can see how useful and beneficial religion is to so many people, and yet we're pursuing a path that is quite grounded in empirical science. So and that very path, as we've done in part one, has made sense of religion in a like a non-faith way, like it's made sense of it in terms of how religion and why religion would arise, and also providing the very argument as to why it is so beneficial to so many people. So then the question is, what do we make of that? So that's where we get to like integrating the domains of wisdom and science here, where we kind of point out that we ought to still use religious teachings and religious insights as something that guides where we look in terms of what we you know we almost use it as hypotheses that allow us to consider whether or not certain practical things will work, or certain things in society are predictable, etc. But then, yeah, I guess there's also this idea of, like, if you were to think about the world in certain ways, would that lead to positive emotions and well-being? And I guess that is what a lot of social sciences do. So yeah, that's pretty in line. That's kind of the stuff that Dr. K talks about. He's finding the empirical grounding that makes sense of why religion would affect people in this way. And he finds that people need certain things in the way that they self-identify with the world. Oh, religion. The new Renaissance has made great strides. Yo, embrace primalism. What's good? Welcome back. I think the reason religion works particularly is because it is or was a lot like nationalism. I'm going to have to look up nationalism here. Also, I'm wondering if, like, I know he's going to talk about this in detail, but really, at this point, I'm trying to just gain some information about universal linguistics. So I might just go, this is terrible, I might just go back to ChatGPT, and maybe we can do a deep dive into universal linguistics through that rather than watching the video. Identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of other nations. Okay, so I think this is what you're getting at. There's something really meaningful about having an identity that you know is shared by other people and committing to it. So I guess this is what, like, so when I say committing to it, I mean identification, not just like, you know, you can identify me in this way. It's like, I identify as this. I identify as believing in God. And there's a lot of implications that comes with that, right? Like, people have an understanding of what it must mean for you to believe in God. Let's not do it now, but Jordan Peterson's got a nice video where he's got, it's called like, Who Dares Say He Believes in God? And I mean, this is just one of the ways he you know, I think he's talked about God in like 5 different ways throughout his time here. But one of the ways was like, he's basically saying, how could I say that I believe in God if I sin? If I don't do everything that would be required of me for me to actually believe that I believe in God? And like, that's a fair point. But yeah, if you want to know what religion is and how it works and used to work, the new Renaissance is the place for embrace primalism. You're a marketing machine here. Perhaps an indoctrination machine, but how dare JBP make commentary on that ancient stuff without being an expert on Greek? I think the way that you're going about this is a little too extreme. I think I know you're at this place where you believe that the Greeks had this thing right and now everyone's just been wrong afterwards. But you know, one of the main things that we talk about on this channel is that a lot of our science and like a lot of our empirical science suggests that none of these are like objectively transcendently correct. So I won't actually like be upset if someone does commentary on something that they're making sense of through their own understanding. You know, I think that's something that is fine. I think it's okay for people to talk about the things that they're trying to understand. And, you know, different people have different expertises and they know a lot of things that I don't know about. So I'm not going to assume that I just already know the truth about the world. Secondary sources have destroyed our world. Barbarians and I don't know what's going on here. Are you fired up, or are you like actually like just memeing? Because this is a pretty good bit. If this is just a meme, this is a good bit. If it's not a bit, I'm a little concerned. Secondary sources have destroyed our world. Barbarians, the lot of them, uttering their bar. The Greeks were not the people the modernities says they were. The modernites says they were. trust me, once the veil is lifted, it will all be. So yeah, what in your mind is the sequence of events that's going to lead to the veil being lifted? Like, does it require that you get a bunch of people in on this? Or is this something that's going to happen in our lifetime? Like, when do we all figure out that it was really the Greeks that knew it all, and then, you know, the comeuppance, like the fact that we've all been in the Matrix gets released? Which Greeks? That's a good question. Okay, what did I want to do? I wanted to, actually, I don't, Onion Helmet, did that, was my response any bit in line with what you were thinking there? I don't want to speak for you on what you're, I don't want to cook for you, you know? I will cook for you, but I don't want to. Oh yes, I'm replying. Okay, no, good stuff. Noam Chomsky speaks about universal linguistics. Can you comprehensively explain to me Noam Chomsky's universal linguistics? The apocalypse, baby. A few generations of classical revival will do the trick. Okay, you have to fall down this rabbit hole, if not for your or my sake, then for the world's. So what happens though? What causes this apocalypse? When's it happening? Is there something I should do, prepare for it, other than buying into this belief system? Yeah, I'm not sure what your play is. But I'm intrigued. I'm interested. Not interested in what you're selling, but I'm interested in your selling itself, you know? Okay, Noam Chomsky's theory of universal grammar, sometimes referred to as universal linguistics, is one of the most influential and debated ideas in modern linguistics. It's the foundation of what's often called Chomskyan linguistics, or generative grammar. Below is a detailed, structured explanation of the theory and its implications. The core idea: Chomsky proposed that all human beings share an innate biological capacity for language. This inborn capacity includes a set of universal grammatical principles that underlie every human language, even though languages differ on the surface. Okay. This is a pretty cool take where, so obviously we know that there's a part of our brain that actually deals with language, but the extra thing that he's putting out there, which I don't know if it's been found yet, is that there's that this capacity includes something like a universal grammatical principle, or universal grammatical principles, which obviously when you do linguistics you could find those in different languages, but he's saying something a little more strong, which is that this is part of our capacity for language. So you'd have to find some correlate in the brain of these specific types of things, which I would hypothesize that you could. However, this is speculative. Like, this is a hypothesis. In short, all human languages are variations on a shared innate grammatical blueprint. I imagine that's the case. Like, but when we say innate grammatical blueprint, we're talking about the mechanisms in our brain that deal with linguistic structures, abstract concepts, etc., and not like some innate, transcendent grammatical blueprint, right? Like the grammatical blueprint is actually correlated, or not correlated, but it's associated strongly with our current DNA, right? So in theory, if you were to follow us for another 1,000 years, if we were to actually evolve like in a normal way, let's just say, let's go back like, a while. Let's go back like 100,000 years. I think they're probably leveraging language and linguistics in like a slightly different way. Pretty similar. Like, it would look pretty similar, but it's probably slightly different in some meaningful ways that we would be able to find out if we were smart enough. This video is an intro to the lexical world. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I'm gonna entertain this line of. I don't think I'm gonna entertain this line of inquiry. Embrace primalism. I'm sorry, but I'm really not interested in that type of interpretation of things. I don't want to enter the lexical world. I think that would just that would be, you know, one of the most unproductive things we might be able to do today and on this channel, and I think it would be a disservice to anyone else that's watching here. Okay. The origins, the poverty of the stimulus argument. Chomsky's theory emerged in reaction to behaviorism, notably B.F. Skinner's idea that language is learned through imitation and reinforcement. He argued that children acquire language too quickly and with too little input for it to be purely learned behavior. Yeah, that seems perfectly right. Like, we have these systems already in our brain, and they easily pick up on learned behavior as well. You know, these you could think about it through norms, the norms of language. You know, I always say this: when your mom points at a picture of something, let's just say it's a sun, and she tells you it's a sun, you're learning a norm that this thing, when you see this thing, like, that's the thing. It's like stimulus equals concept. When you see this thing and you think, what is this thing? You could see it's a sun. So if you were to see that thing and you were to tell someone, oh, that's a moon, then you would be wrong. Like, it's you're breaking a norm, and people will punish you for that norm. Not like, you know, giving you a punishment, but they will behave in such a way where now you are forced to contend with the fact that you're saying something that, you know, is upsetting someone else or making someone else confused. The vid is called A Christing Bible Lesson for Bart Ehrman. Bro. I don't understand. Since I met you, I've been trying to help. Okay. Help in the sense of indoctrinate? Do you plan on watching the lecture? Oh, do I not plan on watching the Chomsky lecture? I was thinking that it might just be too long of a video for me to want to watch. Like, I'm going to have to start thinking about all the viewers in the chat. And I don't know if everyone wants to watch like a really long video on like a Chomsky lecture. I think we're going to have exceptions for things that I'm pretty certain are going to be useful, such as like maps of meaning. But otherwise, we should probably keep it to pretty short, like shortish videos, like 10 minutes tops almost. But that's why I do want to do this deep dive, because I kind of want to just learn what's going on here. And yeah, we can go faster with this than watching that video. But I don't know. Maybe this is very inappropriate, but I consider that we have Chomsky right here. Not in the sense that this is Chomsky, but I can say, like, what would Chomsky say if I, you know, like, it's a little inappropriate to think that way, but like this thing is learned based on everything Chomsky said. So, not specifically that thing, but like we can easily like press up against ideas if we want to. That's the nice thing about having one of these things open. Indoctrination into the new Renaissance. Imagine that. Are you leveraging the fact that New Renaissance as a title sounds intriguing? Like like if I were to give you an honest answer, imagining a branch in our world right now where I end up in like a month believing wholeheartedly that the Greeks had this thing correct, and that everyone so far after that has been incorrect in this fundamental way, and we're all in the matrix, and that first of all, I would have to change the entire document. We'd have to start from scratch, because this isn't the world and our freedom. It's the Greeks actually know it, you know? So it's terrifying. That's the answer. If I were to imagine that, it's a terrifying idea for me to be going down that path. All right. The origins, the poverty of the stimulus. Okay, so we just talked about this. Children say things they've never heard before. They can identify grammatical errors in sentences even without explicit teaching. That's really cool. I didn't know that, but that's pretty neat. This led to the poverty of the stimulus argument. The linguistic input a child receives is insufficient to explain their linguistic competence. Therefore, some grammatical knowledge must be innate. And you could call this grammatical knowledge, but this is really like it's like a knowledge. It's an innate knowledge about language itself, like how language ought to be used. It's like pragmatic in that way. Do you speak ancient Greek? That would be pretty sweet. That would be interesting. Oh, it quite literally is a rebirth of the classical source text. It's not like the Greeks have it correct. The modern people who do not speak Greek don't know what they don't know. And they don't know a lot of history. Wow. All right, universal grammar, the innate blueprint. What UG contains. UG is a set of structural principles and constraints that define the possible forms of human languages. Okay, I see where this is heading. It does not contain specific rules for English, French, or Swahili, but rather the space of possible grammars any human language can adopt. Examples include structural dependencies. Grammar rules operate on hierarchical structures, not word order alone. So this is actually a very interesting thing. This is a very interesting, this is a very interesting way to go about this. So this is actually higher level than, this is more in depth than what we do. So what we do, I guess first I should say that we don't have to do this in the document. I mean, this is a discussion now about actually, no, we kind of do this in the document. Okay, let me try to internalize this. We consider the structure of our conceptual understanding as it is today, right? Like my current, structure, and that's what would also be the case. That's what would also be true about the universal grammar, right? The universal. So, by the way, what he's doing here is he's interpreting what this structure would be like, the universal grammar of specifically language, right? Human languages, right? This isn't necessarily, so we actually do a structure of understanding. He's doing a structure of language. Now you could say that these are like pretty much the same things because they're actually quite similar. So yeah, the only thing that we might want to gain from this is perhaps some of these principles. So structural dependencies, grammar rules operate on hierarchical structures, not word order alone. Okay. Is the boy who is sleeping happy? We move is from the main clause, not the relevant clause, relative clause. So, okay, so this is literally now in a discussion about like the narratives that we construct with language. So this would be like concepts at a much broader view. Now, you know what? We could talk about this through making sense through narrative. Ooh, I don't know if it's necessary, but maybe. So let's do this in like a to-do, making sense through narrative. Does it make sense to leverage Chomsky's interpretation of universal grammar when considering how innate our sense making, actually I should just say our narrative sense making is, in the sense that the way we string together a narrative would be following I guess would be either following these grammar principles, or would be the foundation of these principles. Okay. I think that's the right type of thing we should do here. Oh no, I'm referencing the Dragon Master. He is the new Renaissance champion. The best I can do is refer to the Master and ask what the Hades... Okay, this has to be a meme. This has to be a bit. We're going to have a bit rule on this channel, because I'm a pretty big fan of bits. But bits that go this long and this far, I don't know. Yes, the teacher leading the new Renaissance, the one who cuts through the Vox Orphica found by Otto Kern, the student of Karl Ruck. They call him Ammon. Ammon Hillman. What? How big is this? How big is... Okay, let's go. Let's go. What's going on here? We got to do this now. All right. I don't want to dox myself too hard here. How big is I will not forsake you? It's no meme or bit. I have known you for months. It's the language of the new Renaissance. You have known me for months, and I do appreciate you sticking around. I don't know. I felt like I perhaps have been persuasive, at least in getting across where I'm at in my belief system. So I do respect the stubbornness, but you have to understand, you're going stubbornness versus stubbornness here. I mean, granted, I think my stubbornness is quite well grounded in the stuff that we've talked about in this document, but okay, how big is Ammon Hillman's... I don't want to be too dismissive and call it a cult, but I'm going to say following. Has about 46,000 YouTube subscribers. His channel, Lady Babylon. On Instagram, he has 109 followers. I kind of mean the movement that he's pushing. Okay, I'm going to grab one of these quotes now. I hear people describe him as it's hard to put a precise number on the following or movement behind Ammon Hillman. Sometimes Ammon. What seems to exist is more of an emergent network or intellectual following than a formal organized movement. But here's what can be inferred from available evidence. Okay, his channel, he is increasingly appearing on popular alternative podcasts and video platforms. Some accounts suggest he self-identifies or at least jokes that he either has a cult following or is completely unknown, implying he sees his status as polarizing or niche. Critics, including historians and scholars, have published detailed rebuttals of some of his claims, which suggests he is visible enough to attract serious attention. What we don't see yet, I have found no credible evidence of a formal institutional movement. For example, organized chapters, formal doctrine, membership roles behind him. No mainstream academic adoption of his reinterpretations. Many are explicitly rejected by specialists. No publicly documented estimates of group size beyond social media and internet engagement. Overall assessment based on what's available. His following is modest in absolute numbers, tens of thousands rather than hundreds of thousands or millions, but active and vocal. His influence is more cultural, intellectual than institutional. The movements around him appears to be emergent. Okay. There are strange things in Wonderland, so my antics are warming you up to what you are yet to witness. Okay. My antics. So there's something about the following or the teaching of this guy that includes these antics. Okay, can you give me advice? What would you recommend I tell someone who is quite enthusiastic about this movement and is asking that I join in? Assume that I don't know anything about the movement. That's a good question, and the fact that you're asking is already okay. Here's a structured way to think about how to respond to someone enthusiastic about Ammon Hillman's movement or any emergent intellectual spiritual current like it, especially if you're not yet familiar with it. Start with curiosity, not confrontation. When someone is excited about a movement, they often interpret skepticism as hostility. The first step is to invite explanation rather than debate. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Embrace primalism. I started with actually, no, I did start with curiosity. Let the record show months ago that I did start. Oh, we got Onion Helmet's response, everyone. We're switching tunes. We'll get back to that. All right, first, Energy Dompter. Is Chomsky's theory of universal grammar relevant to the document in my view? I do believe so. I think it is relevant. The question is what can we get out of it? Because there is an aspect of Chomsky's universal grammar that is speculative, like he's interpreting what's innate in our language structures or in the way that we understand the world, in the way that we express our understanding of the world. That's a better way of saying it. It's language, right? The way we express. So despite the fact that it's speculative, though, like that's kind of what we do when we consider the structure of our conceptual understanding. So the question is, how much of his stuff do we need for considering the like, we don't in the document ever need to do exactly what he's doing, which is considering the universal structure of language itself. Like, that's really not necessary, it's not necessary for what our goal is, which is really to just get an understanding of how we understand the world. Granted, you could do that, perhaps. Perhaps you could add that. That's kind of why I was adding it to this making sense through narrative, because I could, like, when we get to language, I think we get to this narrative sense. But then the other thing that we could do potentially is we could leverage the way that he structures language. We could potentially get ideas for how we can structure our conceptual understanding, like how each of us can consider what we understand, right? Like, so far we've discussed how we can consider what we understand as relational, like the concepts that we understand relate to each other, and we can understand them as hierarchical in the sense that the category of animal is like more abstract than the category of cat, which is more abstract than specific, types of cats. Yeah, so like I do want to continue going through this conversation as I think it might be beneficial to look through. Oh yeah, it might add something. But we like the thing that I'm trying to get at also is that like we've done a pretty good job in terms of the structure of our conceptual understanding, where I'm not sure what else we might be able to gain that isn't too in the weeds and too speculative. Like we'll see, but maybe maybe we'll find something. Okay, Stan, I've been trying to cook about religion and nationalism, but I think I burnt the premise and conclusion. Oh no. I only said it because I've been reading about history, and it seems there is an aristocratic development of religion and a mass adoption. I think it might be related to what you're writing and the dichotomy between upper aristocratic and lower mass living, but I'm lost. Okay, let's try to entertain this premise. Can you help me entertain this premise that there seems to be, actually no, I could literally just start. It seems there is an aristocratic development of religion and a mass adoption. I think it might be related to what I'm writing. Okay, let's do better. Let's do better. Let's actually get what I'm writing here. All right, we got the document. I think it might be related to what I'm writing and the dichotomy between upper aristocratic and lower mass living. Is that where it ended? Oh, but I'm lost. Okay. Just look through his Lady Babylon channel. The titles will sum it up. We just want to learn Greek, understand philology, how to use a lexicon, what the ancient context was, magic, idolatry, the pharmacon, the rebirths, the gods, who the monists are, why they shut the innovation down, why the world is decontextualized, all good stuff. That is all good stuff, but I just worry that it doesn't help us in our document here. You know, like where does it help us determine a path for life? Does it help us develop a practical framework for identifying and pursuing our goals? Or perhaps most likely, does it help us understand the world and our freedom within it? Now, I imagine you would argue that it does this, but you know, I think we tackled this from a much philosophically deeper perspective. Like we kind of go under. We you know, it's deeper than concrete claims about the world. So let's let it rip. Chomsky has called the Bible probably the most genocidal book in our canon. Wonder why it's so genocidal. It's just the religion section. Then the revelations will breed insight into the rest of the reality. Okay. The idea you're exploring, the dynamic tension between the aristocratic development. Did I even? Oh, here we go. Between the aristocratic development of religious or intellectual ideas and their mass adoption is a powerful and long-standing theme in the sociology and history of ideas, which is highly relevant to your framework. This dichotomy directly relates to your document's core concepts of normativity, social equilibrium, and the co-creation of shared meaning. Conceptualizing the aristocratic versus mass dynamic. You can interpret this dynamic through the lens of your framework as follows. Aristocratic development, the elite niche. The development of norms. New philosophical and religious concepts often begin with a small elite group, whether an intellectual class, the clergy, or a privileged economic stratum that has the time, resources, and intellectual capacity to engage in sustained, deliberate reflection. The initial concept, the original idea, is often complex, nuanced, and structurally coherent within its own framework. For example, formal philosophical systems, intricate theology. This is the deliberate process of instituting new norms through advanced inductive reasoning. The aristocracy of the elect Early forms of religious movements, often called sects in sociological terms, may view themselves as an aristocracy of the elect, consisting of members who voluntarily abide by the strictest demands and exhibit a high level of religious devotion. Mass adoption, the popular simplification, achieving social equilibrium. For an idea to become a widespread social norm and achieve coherence at the societal level, a stable social equilibrium, it must become functionally sufficient for communication and practical life among a multitude of individuals. But okay, so when we talk about this social equilibrium idea, it's talking about how culture changes over time. So perhaps this is relevant in our discussion of the development of ideas, right? Like we talk about this specifically in our epilogue. The epilogue, trajectory of wisdom. No, we do this in the social dynamics of coherence. Yeah. This is like very high level. We're abstracting culture over time. Through dialogue, corrective feedback, imitation, and simply observing the consequences of others' actions, we collaboratively refine and clarify meanings. Much of this happens unconsciously as we are conditioned by the group and absorb the behaviors and implicit understandings of our community through a constant process of social learning. Over time, this leads not to identical internal worlds, but to the emergence of practically similar understandings. Functionally sufficient for successful interaction by maintaining social... Actually, never mind. Maybe when I was talking about social equilibrium, it's a different idea. It's okay. Consider the concept of a chair. While each person associates this object with unique personal memories or sensations, we converge on a subset of practical inferences. We can think of this state of pragmatic alignment as social equilibrium. Okay, so I was wrong. I totally forgot my own my own terms here. Social equilibrium would be like when we both, not both, but when we all think about a pen, there's practically similar things about that that belief system, and that's like a result of a social equilibrium on what the pen is, you could say. You know, if you know, half of our population, when they saw this thing, they saw it was shaped in like circular. It was circular shaped somehow. Like for some reason they interpret this thing as circular. Then that would be like a you know, an issue. That would cause a difficulty in the social equilibrium. A good example is how people talk about soda or pop or soda pop or cola. It's like you know, the social equilibrium as it relates to that concept is actually kind of, you know, it's not a complete shared thing. Like that, you know, it's slightly different. People understand those things in slightly different ways, at least what you call it. It's not usually practically relevant, but you know, it is a difference. I should also note that as far as I know, nationalism has taken the place of religiosity in many parts of the world. In some places, ideologies combine the two. They both provide a lot of answers for a lot of people. Right. Yeah, I kind of, I feel like the fact that Gemini is trying to stick in all of the concepts we talk about in this document, which there's a ton of, I feel like it might be doing a disservice to your overarching point here. But we'll see. For an idea to become a widespread social norm and achieve coherence at the social level, it must be functionally sufficient for communication and practical life among a multitude of individuals. And the other way of saying that is it must be accessible. Like people must be able to intuit what the ideas are. So the nice thing about religion, and you could see this in, like, you know, the United States and Christianity and whatnot, is these religions can be so abstract that everyone can feel like they're abiding by the religion, even though people are doing things that other people wouldn't think are part of the religion, and it just kind of works, you know? So, and there's power to that. that kind of helps us explain the trajectory of the evolution of myth as explanatory story. Now, we focus on myth as what we're seeing over time developing, but you could think about that, in terms of identity itself, or just any other way that you think about where you are. So we could even think about that through nationalism. Like, how do people? Oh no, what have I done? I said a trigger word. If I recall correctly, embrace primalism. You were here when I read through all these parts, by the way. But yeah, like, chances are the way that we think about society itself, the way that we think about our government and whatnot, has developed along with culture in such a way that it leads to things that help these cultures succeed. So, I guess not much time has passed, but, I think people have kind of picked up on what really works in terms of what makes people feel a part of their, not government, but a part of their state or country. I have a suggestion I believe is relevant to that. Let it rip. What is the theory by Robert Putnam of social capital? Okay. Can you now work in the I'm not going to press enter yet, but the necessity of simplification. Okay, this often requires the complex initial ideas to be simplified, reduced, or turned into easily internalized and socially reinforced prescriptions. The deep, nuanced semantic structures is often replaced by simple, emotionally powerful commands or ritualistic practices. You could see this also in the difference between, let's just say, the more complex and nuanced take of Marx's Das Kapital and the actual Marxist manifesto, or the Communist Manifesto, which is rather simple. Like, it's you could tear the Communist Manifesto to shreds with logical fallacies, but it's very accessible to the public, right? Okay, I guess what I'm getting at is that there is a very interesting difference between the way different classes adopt religions. Okay, and how nationalism is similar, even though they seemingly provide purpose for all classes. Maybe it's another critique relating to the Marxian, I don't know how else to describe sociology about class, reading of the document. Oh, I see. All right, so I'm gonna actually put this first, because I think it's important that that Gemini answers this question before we get to the next one. But okay, it's gonna also pull me again once this actually happens. Oh, we're on Flash again? Man, I gotta fix this. Why is this happening? We want to start on Pro. Relevance to the framework, the ought and the is. This aristocratic mass dynamic powerfully illustrates two key points in your document. The normative ought of society, the mass adopted simplified form of an idea, becomes the implicit normative structure of the culture, the set of rules about what ought to do and believe. This societal ought is what shapes the majority of individual predispositions and constrains their perceived freedom. Yeah, social norms. The dynamic contradiction, the tension between the elite and the mass forms, creates a mechanism for change. The critical insights developed by the elite group, for example, a more nuanced moral philosophy, constantly provide prediction errors against the rigid, simplified norms of the masses. Oh my gosh. All right, it's going way too deep into it's trying to fit everything in. This contradiction, this tension between the sophisticated understanding of the few and the necessary simplification of the many, is one of the driving engines of cultural evolution. All right, so I hope that this, what you had said here, is going to make Gemini be a little more focused on what we're trying to get at. The premise you are exploring, the split between the aristocratic development of a religion and its mass adoption, is a rich historical dynamic that aligns directly with the upper aristocratic and lower mass dichotomy you are writing about. This tension is central to understanding how conceptual and normative frameworks originate in a specialized social context before being scaled up for a okay, so this is talking about it in the same way though. Or are you talking about it more in the way of like how different classes internalize or interpret the norms? Is it the, actually I should just read this once again. Very interesting difference between the way different classes adopt religion and how nationalism is similar, and even though they seemingly provide purpose for all classes. Well, I guess just ant mill this thing, and we'll see what the next. I don't know what that means. How different classes find purpose even when the ideas they adopt are the same. Okay, I see. Like, I find that it's interesting how I guess the nice thing about Flash is this is actually going a lot quicker than it would otherwise be. This is an extremely insightful premise for your writing it, as it highlights a fundamental sociological tension. The ideological function of an idea is different from its psychological and social function. Providing universal purpose is different from reinforcing class-specific identities and goals. I would argue that it's just that the idea is so strong that it allows for the like I would make sense of this in the sense that through this evolution of culture, what arises is like identities and normative systems that actually do provide a benefit to every party involved, because you don't want something that only helps out a small subset of your group, and that small subset, which has a ton of power, will push back against something that doesn't accommodate them. So yeah, I don't think that this is the evolution is not always or I should say is always not ugly, in the sense that, you know, people in power do things that affect, like they have such influence over the norms of society, right? Like they can literally push on religions to the groups involved, but they're still pushing on things that have, you know, developed to help everyone out. So but sometimes they push on things that don't do that, and perhaps that really makes people upset, and then people do things that you know, hurts everyone involved, or it kills them. You know, it leads the elite to killing the people that are going against the norms they're trying to make. And you know, it's just an ugly evolution that leads to what we see today. So I think now we've kind of found some nice and some not so nice cultures and religions that you know, mix with national identities that do actually give purpose for everyone involved. Yo, Daniel N, what's good? Uh-oh, the Manson. I don't want to be a Manson. How different classes find purpose even when the ideas they adopt are the same, right? What's good? All right. So yeah, the difference in how classes adopt religion and nationalism, even when the core doctrine is quote unquote the same, comes down to two major factors directly related to your framework's concepts. Okay. I have to vet this just to see. Oh, what is mastered? The elite, the nuance of the doctrine. So I think it's still Normativity. No, I want to connect it. Yeah, this was putting my document in here was a pretty big failure here, where it's focusing on certain other things than what we would really want it to, which is probably just the discussion we have in this epilogue rather than the entire document. I could say that. And can you and I'm specifically trying to find connections slash implications with the epilogue making sense of collective knowledge of part 1. For example, how religious and national identity evolved over time to not only accommodate each other so well, but to also accommodate various classes of varying privilege so well. Oh, heads up, Discord link in bio is expired. Oh my gosh. I don't know if it's launched yet. Oh, you're saying that you don't know if the Discord has launched? Oh, that's Docker. Okay, that's Discord. Yeah, I'm having some trouble with getting Discord to give us like an eternal link. Like what am I supposed to be doing here? We've got oh, did I find this yet? What is this? The 7th? I might have found this. Classic World of Warcraft. Dude is... Oh, okay. I think I did check this guy out. Okay. What are we doing here? What's going on? It was to specifically... Would it be invite to channel? So I do this edit invite link and I do never, expires never, max number of uses no, and then I do generate new link. And then I do copy. And then I go to my... Oh, wait. Okay. I think... Oh, I know what happened then. That's a bummer. I think my link tree... where's the link tree? What's going on here? I think the link tree has the updated version, but I don't think that... Wait, what's going on here? Can I not... Is that not how it works? How do I actually edit the link tree? There we go. Some sort of... Yep, okay. Yeah, I mean, this should work. I think what I did, though, is... What is this? This is Stream Elements. Do we have Stream Elements up here? We got Stream Elements dashboard. We've got streaming tools. No, what are we looking at? Chatbot, counters, spam, and what do we want? Not chat commands. Timers? Yes, timers. What do we got here? Core? Yes, Discord. There we go. Save. All right, that should be fixed. And then the only other place is in here where we have our join our Discord. Oop. So yeah, hopefully this works. Talking about channels, I think you missed it yesterday. If you're interested in the philosophy creators on here, I have 2 more. Yes. Let them rip. I mean, honestly, we should be doing that right now. We should be checking out other channels and stuff. But we're like 3 rabbit holes deep now. And we have to go down this rabbit hole too. All right, this is also on Twitch in the like. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel End. Huge shout outs. We've got, how do I actually edit this stuff? Is it right here? No, this I'm looking for. I have to edit that. So, stream, home. What do we want? I feel like I usually get through it through this. By the way, we're up to 2 of these, so we're halfway there on our affiliate. Kind of getting close. I don't know when this like. I guess I don't know when the first one happened where it'll cancel out, but pretty exciting stuff. We need to. What am I looking for here? How do I actually change my? Is it just set it? Oh, stream, yeah. Channel settings. Do I put it in here? No, this is the document. Oh, but the social link down here. Yes, thank you. I see. This works. While I'm at it, I know this is like the most compelling content that there is. We can go to overlays here. We got our scuffed overlay. We can edit that. And can I find the text here of this guy? Am I creating text? What's happening? Settings? Oh, I can get rid of that. So save. Did it work? It did work. Nice. Can we get something fun in here? Can we get what do we want? Charity seasonal. Can we get a ghost? Why is the ghost so small? There we go. Oh my gosh, look at this. This is what we've been missing. Delay. We need a delay. We need every 300 seconds, every 5 minutes. Time before history repeats. What? What does that mean? Random. Actually, no. Let's randomize playback. Okay. Save. Oh, look at that. We got a ghost. All right. We'll do that for Halloween season. And then if I remember, I'll get rid of it. What do we got here? I feel like I'm way late on this. Okay, checked out. What is this? Aristotle? Oh no, it's Aristotle. Okay. That's a banger name though. If anyone did like Aristotle. Someone's got to get this. Aristotle. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is still great. Aristotle. Okay, he's playing games. What else do we got here? Oh no. From 2 years ago, and it's 28 seconds long. Currently is offline checkout. So how often does Aristotle, his suggested channels list also has? Oh, okay, we got another one here. This is so okay. It seems like a lot of these people are playing games a lot, but how often do they actually just like discuss? maybe, okay, about, yeah, I guess, where are we finding, oh, here we go. This, about, I'm a professor of philosophy and sociology, and I teach philosophy of sociology of video games. I stream to democratize education and ultimately to pay for my son's education. So I'm guessing they do, I'm addicted to beating games super fast without getting hit. That's so funny. Do they do content? Like does this person do educational content? Wow, this is so funny. 26 followers to go. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought he had a follower goal of 26 followers, but this is pretty close. This is actually pretty great. I feel like I should help this one out. So I'll give the follow. Bloodborne stream. We gotta change the. I don't have notifications on for any of them. Who might be interesting? Actually, that might be in the settings. I forget. Thank you. Be careful about not showing your stream key. Right? Yep. Nice work. Beautifully nice. Back. What did you think of my suggestion? You're just in time because we haven't. We're actually slightly behind on that, but we will still rip it. Explosions every time. I hit the enter. It shows a Michael Bay explosion on stream. Now that would be interesting. Aristotle is a philosopher professor. Does do discussions. Do they do discussions frequently or prof? I don't know. I just discovered their channel yesterday from Aristotle's suggested channel list. But since they're a professor, they are of interest. Fair enough. I mean, the question is what is their interest though? Like, you know, professor of philosophy can mean many different things, and what they're interested in can be very different. So, I don't know if that's an automatic in, but you know what we could I could set these and then forget about them. Last streamed 18 hours ago. Okay. And perhaps I should just get rid of a lot of my followers, like who I follow currently, because I don't watch Twitch ever. So you know, it's not like I hop on here and actually just like click on someone. Eris knows a lot about the Germans, I believe. Kant, maybe Hegel. I don't remember. That's pretty cool. Yeah, unfortunately, like we're gonna have to pivot at some point away from. I mean, I guess we could still talk philosophy, but like it's got to be related to what we do in the document. So linguistic philosophy is very important and relevant. Obviously, phenomenology, existential phenomenology, ontological phenomenology. Like we're not going to be able to go into the we don't want to we don't need to do a deep dive into, you know, German philosophy in general, but I'm sure they'll have something to say about perhaps the ideas that we come up with. There's another channel on here who loves Heidegger. I forgot his name. If I find his channel, I'll link. Where? Oh, gee, I saw it. It was on the screen, I swear. You guys believe in ghosts? Prime Gaming? No, nothing. All right, what do we got here? Okay, sociological and historical analyses confirm that the nature of religious and ideological development is rarely monolithic. It is a complex interplay where the same nominal set of beliefs is adopted, interpreted, and utilized differently by the mass population, often in ways that serve their unique needs and social positions. Okay, what is this? The aristocratic development, complexity, legitimation, and order. All right, so this is still going through the structure that the elite sets up. The key function is to establish a normative structure that justifies their current, I mean, this is using predisposition, but their current circumstances. For the ruling class, the religious narrative is framed to assert that the existing social hierarchy is necessary, inevitable, or divinely sanctioned. So like God chose this king, wealth is a mark of personal attainment, etc. Yeah, then you could see like in a very Hegelian sense, by the forefathers of America leveraging Christian ideals, even though obviously they're down with the whole separation of church and state. Actually, I don't know how much they were. I think they were. I need to know that in history. But you could see that they're leveraging that probably affects how people think about that religion, because they now connect it to what they believe is the implication in their country. So this is where, you might think free speech is like a religious-based idea, which maybe like connects to the idea that everyone is equal, or, I guess that's literally in the was it the Bill of Rights? This idea that everyone is equal, like under God or something like that. This affects how people think about the religion. So now they think that this is like a central tenet, that a government ought to be this way. So this is me speculating, by the way. This is like these are the ideas that are coming to my mind. I am very much out of my element when I'm talking about these things. Cultural capital, affiliation with the dominant established church, often signals status, tradition, and social desirability. So these are all like also speculations as to what is causing the trajectory of culture. The mass adoption, simplification, compensation, and affect. The affective utility of the masses. For the masses, the ideology is less about abstract coherence and more about immediate visceral utility in the face of suffering and social disprivilege. So, following Marxist analysis for the working or peasant classes, religion functions as the opium of the people. It provides a theodicy of disprivilege, a framework that resolves the enormous prediction error caused by a cruel, unjust world, their quote-unquote chaos, with the ultimate reward of a coherent afterlife. Potentially, depends what the religion is. This promise is a powerful compensator for current exploitation, which is often emotionally more tolerable than outright rebellion. So, emotional embodiment. The complex doctrines of the elite are often replaced by a focus on communal ritual, active congregational life, and personal prayer. This practice reinforces the beliefs through embodied experience and habitual action. The deep abstract theology is replaced by simple, vivid, and emotionally potent narratives, often taught through visual media like stained glass, mystery plays, or passionate evangelical preaching that tap directly into the limbic system for affective consolidation. Oh my gosh, did we just get a double ghost? There it is, Marxist analysis. In-group coherence. Religious affiliation provides a strong sense of belonging in community, which is a core evolutionary architecture of shared meaning. Yeah. Okay. The ideology of nationalism. Nationalism operates similarly, but uses the nation rather than God as the transcendent order that grants meaning and coherence. For the elite, political co-option. Political elites and intellectuals frequently appropriate religious language and concepts to forge a powerful national identity. So I guess that's pretty similar to what I discussed with our Bill of Rights. They use the moral language and sense of transcendence within religious traditions to provide political legitimacy to their secular regimes. This is a deliberate top-down, get out of here. For the masses, nationalism offers a supraclass identity that transcends the painful divisions and conflicts of the class system. It provides a massive in-group that offers a compelling sense of belonging and shared purpose. Yeah, I mean, this is like This is a very interesting dynamic, and I don't think we go as deep into this dynamic as perhaps we ought to. When we talk about the evolution of myth, which we could say is the, religious identity of both the state and the religion, we do talk about, when these societies, each with their own time-tested narrative, came into contact, a second and more dynamic arena of selection began, a figurative battle of the gods. The interactions were complex and varied. In some cases, the stories of a militarily or economically successful culture would spread, adopted by neighboring groups who associated those narratives with power and stability. So what we should do is, for the evolution of myth as explanatory story, I'll put this in the to-do. So kudos on this this whole idea of going down this. This is going to help us out. We want to talk about where are we going here? Oh, we're way off. We want to talk about how mention how messy cultural evolution is within a state or country. I don't know if there's a better word that is abstract for all these things, because it used to be what was it, the blank of Rome. What would you say there? Larger than any of these. Okay, within a I don't know. That's not what we're looking for. Okay, how messy cultural evolution is within a state or country, especially in a class perspective. Elites. Let's just say authority, elites, working class, slaves, etc. This would select, I guess, nevertheless, there was a selective pressure for the stories and norms to accommodate all of these it's necessary to acknowledge how much more power the upper class had in forcing or thrusting certain belief systems onto its peoples, and in forcing what's the word for following? Man, my word recall is pretty terrible here. Obedience via potentially at the cost of death, literally. Okay. Or exile. So yeah, like we could add a paragraph that kind of touches on how it would also be messy, and this would affect the evolution of religion over time. It's kind of just we're pointing this out because this is relevant. It's in there. It's not necessarily like the story we're trying to tell throughout this subsection, but this is like the less. But obviously it's not always pretty. Did my random tangent really just get something put in the document? It will. Absolutely. Uh-oh. Not going to lie. That might be the most controversial statement yet. Which one? Which statement? This last statement? Nevertheless, there was a... I mean, this isn't too the wording here is not too controversial, because all I'm saying is there's a selective pressure. So it doesn't mean that the stories and norms actually did accommodate everyone. It's just that there was a pressure that allowed people to be able to leverage, this in a way such that everyone was able to benefit. But the whole paragraph, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, this is very messy. I mean, the reason why I say this is because this did happen, right? Like when the Greeks, shout out to embrace primalism. When the Greeks would take over, like the empire, that's what I'm thinking. Empire within a state/country. Jesus Christ. How am I not remembering this? Or the Persian Empire, Greek Empire, Roman Empire. When they take over places, they force the citizens to abide by, I don't know if they did, like each of them did this, but they forced them to abide by their fundamental, whether it was religious or their national identity. Like they thrust this stuff upon people, and if people are controversial, like Socrates, it was Socrates who got killed? Who was the one that got killed for basically just like going into the public square and being a nuisance, being a philosophical nuisance? Y'all already know the Marxists and Catholics going to be fighting over this. Socrates for corrupting the youth. Right. So like that's an example. It's like for someone to be saying things that are so out of the norm, you could even think about Jesus, Like I can describe this same thing through the lens of Jesus. Boom. Marxists, Christians, united. Boom. Look at this. I'm a genius. Yeah, like Jesus's views were just out there, so the Romans went and crucified him. Like that was, so that's like what we're getting at here. The people that had the power were able to be upset by the stuff that was being said, and boom. That's why freedom of speech is so kind of crazy, actually, when you think about it. The Persians were particularly known for their pluralistic approach. Cyrus was famous for this, which is why the Jews loved and probably still do love him. Okay, that's cool. That's good. That's good to know. See Cylinder of Cyrus, for example. May I ask a political question? Uh-oh. Maybe. We'll see. I mean, you can ask, certainly. Okay, did we... What? Oh, there's something still broken in here where the this should be announcing people. We have nothing that currently announces people. This is just our announcements of streams. We still got our stream chat in here. I gotta change that up too. We've got things to do. What's your perspective on the recent hostage deal? This is one of those cases where I just don't know enough. I'll just say I don't even know if I should. I was going to say, I'll say what the sources that I internalize, my information diet. You know what? These aren't this. I'll say the non-controversial things. It just seems like currently the deal is potentially. Well, the hostage deal is great, right? Like I can't say anything negative about that. The broader deal that I guess the United States government has with them doesn't seem to currently include Hamas's agreement. So that's going to be a real challenge. That's like the extent of my understanding on this thing. It's like there's a deal in place. Potentially the deal's good. I don't know if it's great if a a singular person's name is actually on the deal as the person who's going to oversee the governance of what's going to happen in Gaza. I think that's a little sus. It doesn't say a certain president. It says a person's name. What's your okay? A bit off topic. I just found an absolutely absurd yet incredible article about Ammon Hillman containing the sentence, "Hillman has no evidence the Gospels imagine Jesus as a drugged-out pedophile." Incredible, truly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's why I'm scared. I don't want to like give too much thought to this, and you know, I don't know. Embrace primalism. I'm not sure if you're still here, but once I'll just say once. I'll be a little more confident. Once more people are in this chat, I'm gonna have to be a little more judicious about that kind of. That kind of marketing, let's just say, like, I think it's reasonable to. It's like similar to how I just don't want spam in here. Like I don't want like what is that, like in the background? You're saying it was a car driving by playing music. Hopefully I can't get in trouble for that. But got aliens on the telecoms. Discover more. Continue reading. Yeah, I think it's reasonable to say if someone comes in here and is like specifically advertising first of all, if someone came in here and was spamming advertising something that was completely founded, that might be a problem. But if someone comes in here and starts spamming something that is potentially a cult, then that's a serious problem once we have a lot of people in here. So I'm gonna have to be a little more judicious isn't the word, but a little more of a stickler, because I have to assess the value of what Hillman says, and what he says is gross. Wow. Jesus. Okay, so this is obviously some type of crackpot who is attacking the great. All right, what do we got here? Be dead ass right now. Would you ever vote for me if I were running for office? I will give you an important position in government and promote your book. I don't know. You seem like someone that would be okay with corruption and what's the word for letting people in not based on merits, unless it's because of my merits. You know, if you were to say that it's because of my merits and not because you just know me. I'm just kidding. No, I guess to be dead ass, I would need to know a lot more about you. Listen, bro, I need you to debate against some of these other big players. Actually, I guess, yeah, it depends what office you're talking about. Everyone is corrupt, plus you're smart. Thank you. Everyone is corrupt in some sense. This goes back to our unconscious biases discussion we had, but we're trying to find people that are the least corrupt, right? Like if you are affiliated with something that might have an effect on how you think about certain, you know, major topics as it relates to your constituents, then there's a big deal there. Okay. Finally, can you now work in the theory of Robert Putnam, by Robert Putnam, of social capital? We will put this in the national educational curriculum, folks. I'll tell you, this would be actually pretty wild to be in a curriculum of any kind, because there's not really a curriculum. Actually, is there curriculum from or curricula for college courses? Because I think this document is kind of, it's either undergrad, it's either late undergrad or it's postgrad. but the difficulty of the document is kind of in its comprehensiveness, not as much it's like its ideas, though some of the ideas are kind of complex. Like, you do have to learn like rudimentary neuroscience if this was taught. To our children, what would be fun is to try to make children's books based on this document. That would actually be really fun. That's what we're doing. Great idea. Great idea, Onion Element. This is going to be I'm going to put this in the roadmap. This is way down the line. Once we have parts 2 and 3 done, we will have a channel-wide competition for who can make the best children's book based on any of the concepts mentioned within the document. AI is allowed. I won't write that, but AI will be allowed. Because I want... This is an instance where I would want more people to be involved. Like, I guess there's the chance that people are just going to add slop, so that perhaps, like, usually there's like a filter where anyone who... AI in the sense of like image generators or something like that. I don't want to make this competition only for children's book artists and authors. Like, hopefully this is something that everyone could just do for fun. But then what we need is peer grading. We're gonna need to have our peer grading infrastructure. We will need our peer grading infrastructure created by then. At some point, I have to like build out a peer grading infrastructure for this channel. I don't know when that is, but we're gonna have to do some serious software engineering on that one. First, before we do that, we're gonna have to do our peer grading research arc, which I think that's the first thing that happens probably after we're done the document. It's like we finish part 3, peer grading arc, boom. And then we get into building the peer grading mechanism, whatever it's going to be. It's probably going to be cloud-based. It's going to be nano architecture. Watch me blow the competition out of the water with my sick illustrations. Dude, Darmadom's going to blow everyone out because he's been working on those, he's been working on posters. He's already halfway there. Denuland, I don't know what that word is. I'm guessing that's German, but I'm not sure what it means. It'd be funnier if you required people to actually draw. Would make some good clips. That is true. It would make some good clips. Perhaps we do that. I don't know, but it would be cool also if we just kind of the idea is that we end up with some really good content, right? Like we could now talk through children's books about the concepts, and then I don't know if there's copyright on that stuff, but I would say that whoever made it owns it, and they get to now, with the exposure that they got from this channel, they get to now make a book out of it. Like, this is like my goal is to build up not just the community in the sense of like we all talk here or talk in places, but literally, like, people get to make stuff and we showcase it such that they get exposure and we can build them up, and, we can build up other content creators who are doing things that we think are impressive and effective, and hopefully they become big because that just helps us out in both our main goal and also in our network. Yeah. Boom. Oh, this is, yeah, I mean, this is really what it's going to be. So I don't know if this is probably going to be phase 2 material here. Probably. It's just the European sort of way to answer a sneeze. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, okay, yeah, obvious. I've only heard that word. I've never seen it in the. I think it means to your health or something, or just health. Nice, thank you. All right, what are we doing now? Okay, we got to read through this. The framework of Robert Putnam's social capital provides a robust sociological lens to directly analyze the class differences in religious and national identity adoption and links them to the normative and social coherence mechanisms described in the Part 1 epilogue. Putnam defines social capital as connections among individuals, social networks, and the norms of reciprocity and trustworthiness that arise from them. Cool. These networks and norms act as a crucial resource that individuals and communities can draw upon for everything from getting a job to coping with stress. Okay, so then this is a pretty broad topic. I don't know if we actually have to read through this stuff because it's just going to be fitting it into basically stuff we've already said. But let's skim. The most crucial distinction within social capital theory for your premise is between bonding capital and bridging capital. So ties between people who are similar, same class, race, religion, etc. This provides a strong sense of in-group identity and mutual support. And then there's bridging social capital, ties that connect people who are dissimilar, different social classes, ethnic groups, educational backgrounds. This provides access to resources and information outside one's immediate circle. So this is what religion can help you do, and nationalism can help you do. Okay. The aristocratic class. For the aristocratic or upper class, adherence to the established aristocratically developed religion or institutionalized form of nationalism is primarily a tool for maintaining and leveraging bridging social capital, right? So they're trying to, thrust this upon people, or they're trying to make this work. And okay. Bonding capital as survival. For the lower or marginalized classes, adopting the mass version of a religion is fundamentally about creating and maximizing bonding social capital as a necessary buffer against an unreliable, challenging environment. So for them, the goal is... I think there's bonding social capital involved with the elites as well. I think, no matter how much... no matter how much money you have, it doesn't affect your happiness. Except for, if you have less than is necessary for you to get your fundamental needs. So the people that are at the top here, the elites, they need something too, right? They could fall into depression and stuff like that. If you need any work done for like a website with different tools or a Twitch bot or Discord bot, feel free to ping me on Discord. Nice. Happy to help or help make something. I don't have a nice, cheap or free hosting solution though. Could run them locally though. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the only thing that we have to make that's coming up is... I have this idea of, similar to how this ghost is running across the stream, that there would be a where's like a larger image of our... I could go to the link tree. There's this. I guess, I don't know. So these ghosts are popping off. Do you believe this is relevant to the document? Well, I mean, it's certainly relevant. I don't think it's going to be something that we're going to need to add in there. It's a kind of an interpretive lens, unless perhaps there's something significant with regards to what he implies as part of it. But social capital is just a way of talking about different social dynamics, it seems. And, we do have that already in the document in some form. But also, yeah, I guess if you have a nuanced take as to why it could be in the document in relation to other things that are in the document, of course, or other things that we talk about or specific points I make, then feel free to make them. I could vouch for Daniel. He programmed me a house in assembly. Very nice. I was thinking of the peer voting thing or something. Not sure how you imagined that, though. Yeah, the peer grading thing would have to be kind of a large thing. Like, what we need is we would need to build out like a cloud infrastructure for this, where we are leveraging some type of storage, probably through AWS. We get some storage there. We leverage Lambda functions for compute, like we do. It would be, yeah. What we would need though is also then a web app. We would need a web app, which we either use via Lambda functions or we use via, Heroku or is it S2? AWS S2? S3? S3. Potentially do that for the web app. The web app's going to be pretty dumb. It's just going to allow people to vote. But we don't need a web app. We can just use the stream. Okay, so no web app for now. I think we should have the web app. The web app allows people that do use the stream to see all the things they voted on, all the outcomes. Like, we need a web app that people can go to from stream, but people should be able to vote from stream. So both the web app and the stream, they're both going to be talking to AWS. They're going to be talking to our API. So we're going to need an API layer in AWS. And the API is going to have all kinds of stuff. It's going to be like, not only for admins, it's going to be, like create a poll or some type of survey setup, some type of peer grading setup where there's there could be artifacts of a certain type. Artifacts are what the different people make, and then there would have to be like an event here where when once it starts, people can add things to them. So like you can submit your content to the event, and then at some point the event starts a voting phase. So at the voting phase now, people are able to see. So this is where peer grading mechanisms comes into play, and we're gonna have to actually like build this logic out. But we'd have to figure out what would be the best type of voting mechanism or peer grading mechanism that's required for the individual circumstance. So for example, a bunch of children's books, it's not going to be like Reddit where it's a bunch of like you get like hundreds of children's books. It's going to be each person gets 5 children's books, and they rank them amongst what they see. And because there's so many people voting, we can take all those rankings and we could put them together. We could actually create a ranking of all the children's books based on different algorithms, or not algorithms. Well, actually, I guess it would be an algorithm, but based on different. I don't know what you'd say. They're like aggregation mechanisms. Some are very simple. Like, you're probably familiar with the very simple, like, you just take the ranking and the top ranking is a certain amount of points. The next one's that many points, and you just add them up. So you ensure that every single children's book gets given to each person the same amount of times, and now you can add up its points. Yeah, and then you arrive at some final ranking. But there's more sophisticated systems. The cool thing about peer grading is there's mechanisms that don't allow collusion. There's like anti-collusion peer grading mechanisms where it's impossible to collude and try to force something to win. Yeah, so yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have to like do a serious effort, and we could do it on stream. So perhaps there is, perhaps like a very specific development project comes up in that whole deal where it's like, okay, there's a specific thing you can write. You can write a singular Lambda function, and like that would be easy, and that would be also great. That said, you know, chances are I'm gonna probably just use AI to write all this stuff anyway. But I do appreciate the offer. All right. Okay. Let me read through, because you guys are probably reacting to this stuff I just said. Onion's house only works locally, though. I believe it's, so that's like basically a guest house, right? It's if it's local to you, then it's basically a guest house. He has to come over and then he can use it. I believe it's relevant to the document because it specifically talks about how organizations like chess clubs, bowling clubs, etc., as examples, create social cohesion, and I believe that is relevant for part 3. Aha. Okay. Perhaps. I'm compelled. I think that's pretty effective here. We can, in part 3, it might be beneficial to go over specific types of social. So maybe, like, I'm not sure how comprehensive the theory is, but consider whether the social capital theory by Robert Putnam is necessary for a comprehensive view of how people can find social satisfaction, let's just say. But yeah, potentially so. So I do appreciate you giving that reasoning. The great Stan Richardson peer voting scandal. Uh-oh. I have multiple certifications for, I don't know how this is pronounced, Azure, I think, only, but still happy to try to help if needed. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, each of these, the crazy thing, like these cloud systems or these cloud infrastructures are both quite similar conceptually, but also quite opinionated and therefore very different pragmatically. But yeah, like if anything, it wouldn't be to actually set up the infrastructure. It would probably be specifically for development, or chances are, if you're really into software engineering, chances are at this point I would just call on all the software engineers who are a part of the community to not necessarily do work, but to like give feedback on the stuff that we do on stream. Because I'll make this thing on stream. I don't really find any difficulty in that. Perhaps I should read up on security in AWS and ensure that we're using all the best practices for security so that people can't see the holes that I'm making within my own system. But this is another instance where it would be great for a bunch of software engineers to be yelling at me and being like, yo, you got to do this. This is what you're doing right now is crazy. Don't do that. Do this instead. Twitch offers on-stream widgets or overlays too, if that suits better. Yeah, I think that would suit well too. I think we would want like an on-screen. So yeah, I think that this system would accommodate not only really complex peer grading events such as, you know, the children's book, but it would also accommodate very simple polls, like the stuff that we're used to seeing on Twitch, where I literally just say A or B and everyone votes. It's just a vote, a majority vote. Like the system that we build should accommodate events of any different type, of any different length. Like, so this event, I literally create it. I add the two artifacts, and then people vote on the artifacts. So like we can abstract like those parts about this system, but then, you know, there could be obviously like parameters on an event that tells the event this is how long it's going to be taking place, etc. And the infrastructure is going to just work with all of this stuff, and it can scale up so that we can have stuff happening off stream. We could have people having you know, different. Honestly, this could be a product. Like this could be not a product, but a service, like a service that goes big as a thing by itself that's separate from this stream. Maybe that's something we're interested in. But yeah, maybe it becomes problematic if I show all the code on stream. But who cares? Like, I think it would be cool if our entire setup was open source, and the only reason that ours might win out is just because we already have a community. All right. That did make sense, Energy Doctor. Yeah, depending on the complexity and number of viewer features that could maybe fit into a widget. A little unsure if that would be too much info for a pop-up. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it could always link to something, right? Like we'd always have it so that everyone, when they submit their artifact, it goes into storage, but we can have a link that brings you to the web app that has what you need. So we could have, like, you know, perhaps you vote on the chat, but like perhaps the link brings you to a viewer of the images. I don't know. Appoint Daniel as the head software engineer, otherwise they'll never agree on anything. Jeez. Twitch has a built-in /poll command now, which opens a menu. I think for simple polls, it's been a while since I think I don't have that actually until I become an affiliate. Like I don't even have that feature, but it is there. And, you know, perhaps it wouldn't make sense to rewrite something that's already made, but we could probably get a ton more flexibility out of it. So there's that. That would be kind of cool. I guess it does make sense why you would need affiliate. I don't know. Maybe you want to gate it because it is using compute somewhere. It's memory somewhere that they have to deal with or that they own. Okay. So we did that. We were talking about universal grammar. At some point we were talking about, I don't know what happened to it, but oh, here we go. Ammon Hillman. Check the ideas before accepting the frame. Movements that call themselves New Renaissance or esoteric awakenings often mix legitimate scholarship with myth-making or reinterpretation. Before joining or endorsing anything, you can look up primary sources that Hillman or his followers cite. Read neutral or critical perspectives. Ask whether claims are symbolic or factual. You might say, it sounds fascinating, but I want to understand what's historically documented versus what's interpretive before getting involved. Assess the social dynamics, not just the content. Some intellectual or spiritual movements drift towards insularity or charismatic authority. Red flags to quietly notice. Pressure to join or believe before you understand. That's strike one, embrace primalism. Language of special access. We alone see what others can't. That's strike two, embrace primalism. Discouragement from reading external critiques. He hasn't done that. That's a +1 for embrace primalism. Financial or lifestyle demands. Courses, retreats, inner circles. All right, that's also a plus. He hasn't said that. So 2 strikes, you're not out. We're good. I'd like to learn more independently first. I understand things better when I can think them through on my own. Anchor yourself in multiple perspectives. Okay. How to phrase a gentle but firm response. It sounds like it means a lot to you, and I respect that. This is what I should have said. And I'm not ready to join anything right now, but I'm open to learning about the ideas at my own pace. Wow. Very well said. Am I going to apply for affiliates straight away? Is there a reason I shouldn't apply for affiliates straight away? He has implied that, though. Uh-oh. He has implied what? Which one? The financial or lifestyle demands? Inner circles, perhaps? Did they change the affiliate requirements? I think they did. I thought it used to be 50 followers, average 3 viewers, and like 4 streams in a month. I figured you had all that. The thing I'm missing is the average streamers, and it's slightly more stringent, I think. Where is it? It's reached 25 followers, so we're chilling. We've got streamed 4 days per month, so we're at 29. We're looking good. And we got streamed 4 hours per month, and we're at 99.8. I think we're good. But it's this minimum of 3 average viewers on 4 different days, which is what has basically stopped me from getting this for the past 6 months, I think. At least. Probably more. But yeah, I think this is just going to come with more people coming to the channel. Hopefully this video I drop, we get someone from the Alex O'Connor community. I feel like Alex O'Connor community people are good people. So that'll be exciting. Also, I like Onion Helmet's problem-solving methods. I'm definitely voting Onion next election. Yeah, this is a good good example. The third and possibly the fourth. With affiliate, you get a subscription button with 3 tiers, but your stream also gets ads. You get channel points too. Ooh. So I'm just concerned that without. So I do not like the fact that there's ads involved here, and I will try to make it up to everyone in whatever way I can. Hopefully it doesn't discourage people from being on here. Then perhaps it doesn't even make sense. But I'd imagine that just being an affiliate will help me out in like Twitch algorithms. But I guess I don't know what Twitch is doing with their algorithms. That would actually, yeah, it would be suggesting this channel when people are already interested in similar topics. It would be more likely to show this one, I imagine. You get channel points too. That would be fun for us to start dealing with, and we could, maybe people can spend channel points for getting me to do crazy things. I'm not sure what would make sense. If you subscribe to the channel, it's ad-free, but only for this channel unless you have Turbo. Oh, okay. How much is a subscription here? Is it $5 a month? Chances are I'll make it a habit to like gift subs. Do people do that? I feel like streamers should do that more often. I don't know if people do that, but if you subscribe to the channel, it's ad-free, but only for this channel unless you have Turbo. The problem with the ads is that they can run when someone opens the stream. So do you think that deters a significant amount of people, like significant enough? There are also some throughout the stream. Custom emotes are also an underrated way of publicity. For example, if Onion Helmet used your custom emote in some other philosophy stream, people might click on the emote if it looks fun and it shows your channel and link. Ooh. So that's something we could get into. We could start making some nice emotes. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'd have to do everything. We'd have to go from every angle. I mean, if you're interested in the stream and the document, but not into philosophy or anything, and you click on the stream and are hit with like a minute of ads, people might click off. It depends on the person. Right. Yeah. So what would be your recommendation here? Is the idea that we just we leverage momentum without becoming affiliate. And then once we're at a certain point where the viewership is so compelling that regardless of the ads, people are pretty much interested in sticking around past the ads. I don't know what that would mean. I don't know if that's like 25 viewers. but that could be a happy medium. Yeah, I'd have to see what things we lose out on, because I know there is a ton of like affiliate only features that might help us out, but I would have to really what's going on here? Where do I go for affiliate information? How do I get to like affiliate? Actually, I should just go Twitch affiliate. All right, so this is the stuff that we wouldn't care about, especially if there's not many people here still. Video tools, transcoding options as available. Subscriber streams, that's not crazy. Subscriber only VODs and archives, that's not really crazy. Increase VOD storage from 7 days to 14 days. I think we already have that because I'm an Amazon Prime customer. Eligible to create stories on Twitch. That's cool, but I don't think that's really the channel points are, I think, the emotes and the channel points and the polls. The polls are huge, actually. I think polls are really cool, and it gets everyone involved. But perhaps, you know, polls aren't as interesting until we have like 10 people on here. So maybe it would be 10 concurrent viewers average. That would be like a good time to start. Maybe. Oh, I believe you can set the ads to run throughout the stream and not at the beginning, but you'll have to think about it. Yeah, I would want the least amount of ads possible. There's like 2 strategies for ads. Not sure if it applies to partners only or also affiliates, but there's both pre-roll and mid-roll or something like this. Mid-roll seems to be preferred by most. Okay. And then, yeah. The negative with the mid-roll ads on a philosophy stream are that people might miss out on something I say. That is true. So a pre-roll wouldn't do mid-roll, though? Like, if that made any sense. If I selected pre-roll, it wouldn't do mid-rolls, or it would just do fewer mid-rolls? That's a good shout. Some streamers take a little break when those happen, but it's additional cognitive load for sure. I believe it's one or the other, but unsure. Okay. So maybe it would be wait until we've got like 10 people average, then we do pre-rolls, not mid-rolls, because I think that's more important. I think I don't want to punish people who actually like the stream. I would rather punish people that don't know about the stream yet. But then once they like it, they stay, you know. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll probably run it through a chatbot, see what it says. Pre-roll and get it out of the way sounds good too. Yeah. Yep, I mean, these are problems that, you know, I'll be pretty stoked to have once I have them, so we just got to get there by infiltrating Alex O'Connor's community. All right, I might call it. And then, yeah, tomorrow morning I'm going to work on editing this video for as long as it takes until it's done. And then I guess there's the thought of posting it tomorrow. My concern about posting it tomorrow is that a bunch of people might be concerned with the protests that are happening tomorrow, whether they're actually protesting or not, and they might not be around. Now, granted, it doesn't really matter when I post this video because the marketing is in when I post this on other people's stuff. So it's probably not going to matter. I am down to watch Ivan tomorrow. I do still want to do that. So just I guess a heads up just to temper. expectations. And I don't really have anything here yet. I think that I'm definitely here next Friday. But I think I'm also gone pretty much every other day of the week. But I'm going to probably chill Saturday and Sunday, not stream on these days, and then stream this day. Not going to stream this day. Probably stream Sunday, and then we're back. And then I'm chilling. But slight hiatus next week. The King thing, No Kings protest. I haven't kept up to date at all. Yeah, it's like the No Kings protest in the U.S. So, a lot of people are going to be protesting that. They've already got people protesting the document. Yeah, they're all going to be protesting right outside my window. Yeah, and the type of people that are protesting here, I feel like, are perhaps people that we would want, you know. I'll just say that. Just because I think it's worth protesting for, so. But that really doesn't matter when I post the video, right? Like, I think the real question is, when do I post this on Alex O'Connor's subreddit, and where else do I post this? Because this is the first video that isn't like, you know, it's the first one that's not for this community, right? It's the first one that's public facing in a way. It's accessible to anyone that comes in, and it's also effective. So I don't understand something. Why didn't you want to upload it tomorrow due to the protests? Well, if I was actually a larger streamer, or if I was a larger content creator, then it really matters how many people see this video right away. And if a bunch of people are not going to be home, and they're not going to be paying attention to this, you know, like they might be looking at the news, they might be looking at, you know, they might be in the protest, whatnot. There might be a lot of reasons why I would lose viewership because of just people are, it's like posting a video during the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not that big, but like intuitively you could see how that wouldn't be a smart thing to do. So if I really, but like I'm not a big content creator, so it really doesn't matter when I post the video. It matters when I market the video. So chances are I will probably wait until like Sunday or Monday, depending on, we got to find this website. What is the website that tells you when to post on Reddit for a particular subreddit? So this is what we should really follow, I think. Later for Reddit. Yep, later for Reddit. So we get on later for Reddit. What's Alex O'Connor's? Oh, we do want to type Alex O'Connor ? We do want to post on Decoding the Gurus. Actually, I don't know if what happens on Decoding the Gurus. It's a podcast where they do like discussions on philosophy and psychology and stuff. But what's funny is they'll judge how much of a person is a guru, like how much, and they have this whole gurometer where like they like say how much of a guru is this person being. And guru is actually, you know, in this context is a very negative thing. It's like someone who's trying to like push a way of thought onto people that actually like is unfounded and maybe it like leads to them getting money or something like that. Like really, we don't want to score high on the gurometer, but I joke and I do say I want to score high. Okay, I'd imagine Sunday over Monday. Okay, wait, there's a website like this? I can harness this hugely for my propaganda. Oh my gosh, who jumped in the chat with the I'm actually not going to allow that one. Bena Saraf, welcome to the channel, first of all. How long have you been chilling here? And what don't you like about Alex O'Connor? Mr. President. Sir, yes, sir. What do we got here? It takes, so with this, are there rules? Submissions must be related, must relate to decoding the guru's post. Should either be about a guru or a topic that has been recently discussed on the podcast. Okay, so this is not going to work out here. That's unfortunate. All right. Oh, you know what? Wait, about a guru. Does Alex O'Connor count as a guru? Oh, this actually might work because I'm challenging Alex O'Connor's views. Oh my gosh. All right, we'll try it. We'll try it. Galaxy brain takes only. If this needs an explanation, then you are clearly Earth brain. What? Uncivil or antagonist? Maybe I don't want this community. All right, r/. Do we get his? Okay, we got Cosmic Skeptic. So I want to copy this. Bena Saraf, Alex O'Connor really asked Ben Shapiro, if you had a choice of raising your child as an atheist or a Muslim, what would you choose? Okay. You had me at asked Ben Shapiro. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I guess I would need to know the context of that discussion to know if he was doing, like, Alex O'Connor seems to leverage things to make logical points, like in a sense where it could very much come across as he's like setting up a logical trap, like you know, like I can beat you by pointing out that the logic is wrong, right? Like it's less of like, it's like less empathic, right? But it's still effective. It's an effective debate technique. But what he's really trying to get at is like, what values, I'm guessing in the conversation, this is me speculating, I'm guessing he was asking Ben, what values do you really like? And do you see that atheism just does not have these? Do you see that, do you think that Muslims share these views? The stupidity of the question, not because he asked Ben Shapiro, but because he thinks that question even makes sense. Okay. In my mind, the question makes sense in the sense of, if I were to guess what that question means, it's like, let's just say you pretended that you were this, and you carried these tenets out in the household. You mentioned this multiple times. So like perhaps if you had a Muslim household, you would be like, I don't know what the stories are. I'm also butchering this religion right now. I'm so sorry. But you would know probably stories and stuff. You would just have things that you would talk about. You would teach your kid through those stories. And then the atheist way would be probably you would teach your kid through the scientific method, like constantly. Like you would be all about empirical science. You would be telling the kid not to be, perhaps you could be an effective atheist where you talk about, hey, like there's a good reason why people believe these things, but it's quite ungrounded. So this is not a thing that I follow, and perhaps it's not something you should follow. I like Alex, but he can be a bit political in his stuff, like overly agreeable to be nice sometimes. Okay, I guess I haven't spent enough time with Alex to see him be political. That's kind of interesting to me, which helps him get liked, but takes a little from the philosophy. So are you saying it takes from the philosophy in the terms of it takes air, like it takes from the airtime, like it takes airtime away from philosophy discussion, or are you saying that it takes away from his reliability or his I don't know what the word I'm trying to say here is, his trustworthiness when it comes to his conviction on certain beliefs? Like he will agree with people when he ought to be disagreeing based on his very own philosophy. It's like, would you like to eat? Oh my gosh. I'm guessing you're religious, but you're not Muslim. Okay, but the question still makes sense. What did Ben Shapiro say? He tries to understand what he means by atheism, its moral values, which isn't because atheism can be coherent with Muslim morals or other metaphysical assumptions. In a holding that his in a holding his blows kind of manner, yeah. I'm guessing that was the second thing I said, where you would hope that he would be a little more, strong about his conviction, or strong about his fundamental values that it seems like he has. This is why I made this panpsychism video, because I thought that it was a fundamental value of Alex's that scientific rigor or empirical rigor was actually like a more fundamental value, especially when it comes to understanding the consciousness, than what makes sense intuitively. Yo, Dharmadam, what's good? Chat is popping off. No, I'm not. I don't know. Oh man, I don't know what I'm responding to now. I apologize. I lost the plot. We got another Reddit post. What he got, is this the same one? What he got wrong is this. Holding his blows. I see. Okay. Man, maybe I'm just so used to hearing blows as like a verb. So I thought holding his was the noun here. Like it was the phrase, and the holding his blows, like it's a bummer or it sucks. Scared to offend. Holding his blows, like holding his punches. I see. Nice. I'm not religious, but I am not agnostic as well. I think we can verify belief from pragmatic perspective. Okay. You're not religious, but you're not agnostic. Does that make you atheist? Or does that make you spiritual? Like in some non-religious sense? And then when you say verified belief, are you saying verified belief in the sense that it makes sense why people would believe these things? It makes sense why it's beneficial for you to believe these things or other people to believe these things? Or are you saying that it's pragmatic that these things do exist in some ultimate way or something like that? By verified belief, do you mean 100% certainty or just justify? We got another. Oh my gosh, he's looking into my soul. I need to take a look at this before I choose to upload the video. It's gonna haunt me. That belief is coherent. Okay, that belief coherently explains subjective experience. I don't have enough experience. Okay, okay. So you think you're mainly an atheist? I see. So then, yeah, I'm wondering what was so crazy with that initial question. Like, would you rather raise your kid atheist or religious? Which is, I think, I mean, okay. To Ben Shapiro, the question is obviously, would you rather raise your kid atheist or Muslim? But for the purpose of, I guess, what I'm what I'm trying to get at. Like, you know, what would it be like to ask someone, would you rather raise your kid atheist or religious? I'm not sure which one of the two meanings I proposed that alludes to. Uh-oh, we got another one. Oh my, whose are these? Are these actual thumbnails people have made? Is there just like a huge group of Alex O'Connor haters? Yo, Adam tuned in. What's good? What is popping? Oh my gosh, it is popping in here. We're going to be able to get a third out of the 4 average viewers, I think. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. Oh my gosh. I like Bayesian approach to this problem. Oh my gosh, this goes full circle. We started this stream off looking at Bayesian thinking. Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Very nice, Daniel. Oh my gosh. We're evolving as a channel here. We are popping off. You're wrong. No. He's using the Mr. Beast thumbnail generator. Oh, okay. I forgot. Yeah, you could just generate these thumbnails, probably with AI as well. Probability based, so justification, not certainty. Did I discuss the Gettier problem? I did not discuss the Gettier problem. We actually didn't go too deep. It was pretty much just Steven Pinker talking about actually the benefits of thinking through your experience in the world through a Bayesian model. You missed the one before that. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh. Why does it always look like he's like tired in these? Like it's the thumbnail purposely makes him look. Actually, these are probably real pictures, so maybe now I'm beefing. I didn't mean to. These are highly important for exposure. No, I think it's gonna be a pretty chill thumbnail. I know maybe that's shooting me in the leg, but I don't want to be like a. I don't know. I don't want to come across as like unless I know the person. I don't want to do a crazy type of clickbaity thumbnail. Granted, I will call the video what I had, which was challenging Alex O'Connor's views on consciousness. Do the one where he's staring. That would be pretty good. The question is flawed. It presupposes one has learned about every religion and any possible religion, and second, that either atheism or theism or any sort is the correct religion. Which question though? The question of which religion is right, or the question of which how I would prefer to raise my kid? Because I think that question implies, say, like, hey, you, wherever you are at currently, like whatever you think or understand about these religions. But you might have also been responding to a different thing entirely. So at this point, I'm going to have a real tough time with a larger chat here, a more complex chat, because I usually just assume everything is happening in a very slow, sequential order. Do a thumbnail of Seth Rogen. Oh my gosh, it's just a thumbnail of Seth Rogen, but it's about me challenging Alex O'Connor's views. That would kind of be crazy. I don't know if that plays well, but okay, we have to get back to what we were doing here, which was specifically make the front page today. When's the best time to post? And we are going to, is this still saved? Yeah. Vote threshold. Select a minimum vote value for a submission to be included in the calculation. So this is where we want to see top of the month. Top of the month shows that most posts get about. So we want to beat the threshold of 5. That's the goal. We want more than 5 posts. So we do actually, yeah. period month. Oh, okay. Let's do the 5. Results: analyze 32 posts from r/Cosmic Skeptic in the past month with over 5 points. Best posting time: Saturday in the morning, Sunday in the morning. This is it. Monday at 4:20 a.m. Maybe I should do schedule a post for Monday at 4:20 a.m. Oh my gosh, 2 posts. Okay, so this is terrible data though. This is really not telling us anything. I should just post whenever. It really doesn't matter. These are not, the sample size of 32 is really small. So for the decoding the gurus, this might be different. Let's look at the past year. We're getting, I would be stoked if we got more than 200 views. So let's do, oh my gosh. Okay, let's do, whoops. Let's see what happens if we do 200. And this is per year. This can take up to a minute or 2. The question Ben Shapiro raised about what to teach your children, I see. Okay. Yeah, if the question was what ought you teach your children, then you're now at a serious issue where you have to recognize that you don't know what the right answer is, and you're only speculating as to an answer. But if the question is what I ought to, or like what I think I ought to teach my children, right? Like if it's about what, right? The question was, would you rather, right? So it's a question about Ben Shapiro's own understanding of the religions or lack of religions, the 2 paths, and so he can make a choice through his own understanding. It's not necessarily like, what do you think everyone ought to do, or, you know, what do you think you ought to do if you knew everything? People literally comment, why is the thumbnail Seth Rogen, which will boost the algo? That is true, but they might be also upset, and they might do they post the comment, they hit the unlike button, and now the algo doesn't like us. All right. Uh-oh. If I had children, I would bring them here. I strongly think that it wouldn't that you couldn't just plop a child in front of our document and it would work. Then why would I know what Ben knows? You wouldn't know what Ben knows, right? The question was, I don't know if you saw the context, but Alex O'Connor was talking with Ben Shapiro, and Alex asked Ben, what would Ben rather do? I think it was like, would you rather, because I'm guessing, you know, because Ben is obviously quite religious, Alex is trying to get at, okay, what values do you really hold? Do you think that an atheist would not have those values? Do you think that, you know, a Muslim teaching would not have those values? So I don't know what the context of that discussion was, but that's what I'm guessing. It was a thought experiment that would allow Ben to elucidate his values and whether he thinks that those values are in either of those paths. Okay, I think we got to call this thing. I think I got to get ready for bed and get some Z's so that I can edit this video tomorrow. Analyze 248 posts from Decoding the Gurus in the past year with over 200 points. Best posting times: Monday at 8:40, Tuesday at 4:30, Monday at 5. Okay, so Monday in the afternoon seems like a good posting time. Let's get this down. Let's there we go. Continue with these tabs. So at the very bottom here, I'm gonna just have a posting schedule. Decoding. Actually, is this still? Yeah, Decoding the Gurus, Monday afternoon. Alex O'Connor, it doesn't matter. What is this? Cosmic Skeptic. This is gonna. I'll do Sunday morning. Sure. Ayo, Drake, pick up. Drake, we got Stan Richardson on the line. Oh my gosh, Drake's picking up. Do we want to be associated with Drake? That's the second question. I know I probably shouldn't be like creating beefs with this channel right off the bat, but perhaps we shouldn't start that way. It seems like Ben is pushing a question that rests on a fallacy. Rhetorical question suggesting only two choices false. I think the context was more of like, yeah, you'd have to look into the context. I don't know. I don't know the conversation. I'm guessing just based on what Benes Saraf said, that it was probably something like, which of those two would you prefer if you had to choose one of those two? It wasn't like, which ultimately would you want? Eminem expresses interest in the Stan Richardson document after taking into consideration the epistemological definitions. Now, I would really appreciate Eminem to get in here. That would be sweet. I would enjoy that. Back to the Dodger game. Have a good one. Oh my gosh, yeah, good luck. Have a good one as well. You took out my team, but I'm not really into sports, but congrats. All right, I think I'm going to call it. We can talk about other title word analysis. Most popular words, Rogan. This is the genius of Onion Hummet's plan. We call it Seth Rogen, and we get the Rogan bit. Joe Rogan, okay. Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan's, and Musk. Oh my gosh, everyone here is obsessed with Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and Jordan Peterson. We got a Sam Harris. No Alex O'Connor, though, which is not looking good. You know what I should have done? Instead of going after Alex O'Connor here, I should have gone after Annika Harris, or Annika Harris. I don't know how to pronounce this. And this would have been terrible, though. I would have said Sam Harris's wife, challenging Sam Harris's wife's views on consciousness, and maybe that gets more clicks. Oh, that would be rough, though. The problem is, though, I couldn't have actually made as an effective counter on panpsychism if we were going after Annika Harris, because if I understand correctly, she doesn't make a claim that it's definitely true. Her claim is nuanced in the sense of, hey, what if we started with the premise that panpsychism might be true, and what would that lead to in terms of our hypotheses and our actual scientific pursuits, in such a way that perhaps we end up, learning more about, an actual panpsychist foundation to our consciousness. Now, you could probably make the argument that is also inappropriate in a scientific sense, like in terms of the standards of the scientific method and scientific rigor. That's probably inappropriate to make to make that case. But that's not the case. We don't actually counter that case in the video. So we would have had to made a different video for Annika Harris. Granted, yeah, and it wouldn't make sense for us to go through our whole entire spiel as well, our educational spiel, because the video starts and ends with that take I just gave. So, all right, chief marketer here. How may I be of service? That's why they pay you the big bucks. All right, I gotta get out of here. I keep saying we're gonna keep. I keep saying this, but then I keep going. So tomorrow we'll consider other subreddits that I might want to post on, and perhaps even other areas on the internet. I don't know where we can post things, perhaps we go onto the philosophy channel and we post our what's it called? We post the script. You know, we can just get rid of all the anything that alludes to Alex O'Connor or the video entirely. We can just cut it down to exactly the philosophically relevant argument. Yo, Benisaraf, thank you very much. And yeah, thanks for popping in. Thanks for joining the conversation today. So is that thing going to post for me? And it depends. Chances are it won't. I'll just set a reminder on my phone and then I'll just post. I'll just do it. But it could, right? Like I can make an account and have it post for me. Yeah, thanks for streaming, Stan. See you in the hot tub, Onion. Nice. Thanks again for the interesting idea, Benisaraf. Hell yeah. I love hot tubs. All right. See everyone later. Have a good rest of the night. Thanks for conversing today. This was a fun one. So